it or
What's going on YouTube stream? If you're watching this after the stream is over, well, basically this is the UCJ hearing for Israel, Palestine, South Africa, all of that stuff. So this could be really good for Palestine, or it could be really, really bad. So let's see how this goes. I'm doing a live reaction. Here we go.
Copy thereof to the government of Israel. He also notified the Secretary General of the United Nations. According to Article 74, Paragraph 1 of the Rules of Court, a request for the indication of provisional measures shall have priority over all other cases. Paragraph 2 of the same article states that the court shall proceed to a decision on the request as a matter of urgency. This imperative must, however, be balanced with the need to fix a date of oral proceedings in such a way as to afford the parties an opportunity to be represented at the hearings. Consequently, the parties were informed that the date for the opening of the oral proceedings, during which they could present their observations on the request for the indication of provisional measures, had been fixed for Thursday, 11 January 2024 at 10 a.m. I would now like to welcome the delegations of South Africa and Israel, and I note the presence before the court of the agents and counsel of both parties. This morning, the court will hear the single round of oral argument of South Africa, which has submitted the request for the indication of provisional measures. It will hear Israel tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. For purposes of this single round of oral argument, each party will have available to it a 3-hour sitting. In this first sitting, South Africa may, if required, avail itself of a short extension beyond 1 p.m. today in view of the time taken up by these introductory remarks. Before I give the floor to the agent of South Africa, I wish to draw the party's attention to Practice Direction 11, which states as follows, I quote, "In oral proceedings on the request for the indication of provisional measures, parties should limit themselves to what is relevant to the criteria for the indication of provisional measures as stipulated in the statute, rules, and jurisprudence of the court. They should not enter into the merits of the case beyond what is strictly necessary for that purpose."
Do you know what I think is going to happen? South Africa is going to talk about the genocide, but Israel tomorrow is going to, or I don't know when they're speaking, I guess it's tomorrow, they're going to completely try to be the victim, and they're not going to mention the accusations. Anyways, here we go.
Madam President, distinguished members of the court, it is an honor and a privilege for me to appear before you today on behalf of the Republic of South Africa. I wish to express my gratitude to the court for convening this hearing on the earliest possible date to entertain South Africa's request for the indication of provisional measures in this matter. In our application, South Africa has recognized the ongoing Nakba of the Palestinian people through Israel's colonization since 1948, which has systematically and forcibly dispossessed, displaced, and fragmented the Palestinian people, deliberately denying them their internationally recognized inalienable right to self-determination and their internationally recognized right of return as refugees to their towns and villages in what is now the State of Israel. We are also particularly mindful of Israel's institutionalized regime of discriminatory laws, policies and practices designed and maintained to establish domination, subjecting the Palestinian people to apartheid on both sides of the Green Line. Decades-long impunity for widespread and systematic human rights violations has emboldened Israel in its recurrence and intensification of international crimes in Palestine. At the outset, South Africa acknowledges that the genocidal acts and omissions by the State of Israel inevitably form
both sides of the Green Line.
Of illegal
both sides of the Green Line, by the way, means all of Israel and Palestine, not just the West Bank and Gaza.
People since 1948. The application places Israel's genocidal acts and omissions within the broader context of Israel's 75-year apartheid, 56-year occupation, and 16-year siege imposed on the Gaza Strip, a siege which itself has been described by the director of UNRWA Affairs in Gaza as a silent killer of people. As the Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination warned on December 21st, hate speech and dehumanizing discourse targeted at Palestinians is raising severe concerns regarding Israel and other states' parties' obligation to prevent crimes against humanity and genocide in the Gaza Strip. This warning has been followed by a succession of warnings, including by 37 United Nations special rapporteurs, of the failure of the international system to mobilize to prevent genocide in Gaza. Today, we are joined in court by representatives of the Palestinian state, the Palestinians who work in the rights, including residents of Gaza who were in Gaza just a few days ago. They are some of the lucky ones who managed to get out of Gaza. Their future and the future of their fellow Palestinians who are still in Gaza depend on the decision this court will make on this matter.
Yes.
With the leave of the court, I now call upon His Excellency, Mr. Ronald Lamola, Minister of Justice of the Republic of South Africa, to make South Africa's substantive opening remarks.
I
thank the agent
no
of South
clapping
Africa
here
for his statement, and I now invite the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services for the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency Mr. Ronald Lamola, to take the floor. You have the floor, Excellency.
Thank you, Madam President, and distinguished members of the court. It is an honor for me to stand here in front of you on behalf of the Republic of South Africa on this exceptional case. In extending our hands across the miles to the people of Palestine, we do so in full knowledge that we are part of a humanity that is at one. These were the words of our founding president, Nelson Mandela. This is the spirit in which South Africa acceded to the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of Crime of Genocide.
Israel is shaking right now. Israel is shaking.
This is the spirit in which we approach this court as a contracting party to the Convention. This is a commitment we owe to the people of Palestine and Israelis alike. As previously mentioned, the violence and the destruction in Palestine and Israel did not begin on the 7th of October 2023. The Palestinians have experienced systematic oppression and violence for the last 76 years. On 6 October 2023 and every day since October the 7th, 2023. In the Gaza Strip, at least since 2004, Israel continues to exercise control over the airspace, territorial waters, land crossing, water, electricity, and civilian infrastructure, as well as over key government functions.
Yes.
Entry and exit by air and sea to Gaza is strictly prohibited.
Yes.
With Israel operating the only two crossing points. Given that continuing effective control by Israel and over the territory of Gaza, Israel is still considered by international community to be under belligerent occupation by Israel.
Yes.
South Africa unequivocally condemned the targeting of civilians by Hamas and other Palestinian armed groups and the taking of hostages on the 7th of October 2023. And has again expressly recorded this condemnation, mostly recently in its note verbal to Israel on the 21st of December 2023. That said, no armed attack on a state territory, no matter how serious, even an attack involving atrocity crimes, can provide any justification for or defense to breaches to the Convention, whether as a matter of law or morality. Israel's response to the 7th of October 2023 attack has crossed this line and give rise to the breaches of the Convention. Faced with such evidence and our duty to do what we can do to prevent genocide, as contained in Article 1 of the Convention, the South African government initiated this case. South Africa welcomes the fact that Israel has engaged with the case in order to have the matter resolved by the court, after careful and objective consideration of the facts and submission put before it, as the parties to the Convention have intended. This hearing is concerned with South Africa's request to the court for the indication of provisional measures and will necessarily have a narrow and particular focus. I invoke the words of Martin Luther King when he said, "The arch of the moral of the universe is long, always bending towards justice." South Africa's case will be presented by a team of 6 legal counsels, comprising of Dr. Adila Asim, Mr. Tembeka Ngcukaitobi, Professor John Dugat, Ms. Blim Leckrone, Mr. Max Dupris, and Professor Vaughan Low. Dr. Adila Asim, Senior Counsel, will provide an overview of the risk of genocidal acts in the perpetual vulnerability to acts of genocide. Mr. Tembeka Ngcukaitobi, Senior Counsel, will examine Israel's alleged genocidal intent. Professor John Dugat, Senior Counsel, will focus on the prima facie jurisdiction. Professor Max Duplessis, Senior Counsel, will discuss the various rights currently under threat. Blinny Crowell, King's Counsel, will present the argument of agency and potential irreparable harm. And Professor Vaughan Low, King's Counsel, will speak on the provisional measures. I now request, Madam President, the court to call on Dr. Hasim. I thank you.
His Excellency, Mr. Lamola, and I now invite Ms. Adila Hasim to address the court. You have the floor, madam.
We have to clap, man. Where are the claps? Clap in the chat, guys.
Thank you. Madam President, distinguished members of the court, it is a privilege to appear on behalf of the Republic of South Africa in this case of exceptional importance. It's a case that underscores the very essence of our shared humanity as expressed in the preamble to the Genocide Convention. It's my task to address the court on the genocidal acts that have led to this urgent request for provisional measures under Article 41 of the Statute of the Court. South Africa contends that Israel has transgressed Article 2 of the Convention by committing actions that fall within the definition of genocide.
Yes.
The actions show a systematic pattern of conduct from which genocide can be inferred. Allow me to place these acts in context. Gaza is one of the 2 constituent territories of the occupied Palestinian territories, occupied by Israel since 1967. It is a narrow strip of approximately 365 square kilometers, as depicted in the map now displayed. Israel continues to exercise control over the space, territorial waters, land crossings, water, electricity, electromagnetic sphere, and civilian infrastructure in Gaza, as well as over key governmental functions. As the Honourable Minister has said, entry and exit by air and sea to Gaza is prohibited, with Israel operating the only 2 crossing points. Gaza, which is one of the most densely populated places in the world, is home to approximately 2.3 million Palestinians, almost half of them children. For the past 96 days,
What was I just saying
Israel
before
has
this?
subjected Gaza to what has been described as one of the heaviest conventional bombing campaigns in the history of modern warfare. Palestinians in Gaza are being killed by Israeli weaponry and bombs from air, land, and sea. They are also at immediate risk of death by starvation, dehydration, and disease as a result of the ongoing siege by Israel, the destruction of Palestinian towns, the insufficient aid being allowed through to the Palestinian population, and the impossibility of distributing this limited aid while bombs fall. This conduct renders essentials to life unobtainable. At this provisional measures stage, as this court has made clear in the Gambia-Myanmar case, it is not necessary for the court to come to a final view on the question of whether Israel's conduct constitutes genocide. It is necessary to establish only whether at least some of the acts alleged are capable of falling within the provisions of the Convention. On analyzing the specific and ongoing genocidal acts complained of, it is clear that at least some, if not all of these acts, fall within the Convention's provisions. These acts are documented in detail in South Africa's application and confirmed by reliable, often UN sources. It's thus unnecessary and impossible for me to recount all of them. I will highlight only some in order to illustrate the pattern of genocidal conduct. The UN statistics that are relied upon are up to date as of 9 January 2024. In South Africa's oral submissions, we will illustrate the facts that we rely on with limited use of audiovisual material. Madam President, we do so with restraint and only where necessary, and always with respect to the Palestinian people. Against this background, I move now to demonstrate, in turn, how Israel's conduct violates Articles 2A, 2B, 2C, and 2D of the Convention. The first genocidal act committed by Israel is the mass killing of Palestinians in Gaza, in violation of Article 2A of the Genocide Convention. As the UN Secretary General explained 5 weeks ago, the level of Israel's killing is so extensive that nowhere is safe in Gaza. As I stand before you today, 23,210 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli forces during the sustained attacks over the last 3 months.
That's just confirmed, not the rubble, not under the rubble.
70% of whom are believed to be women and children.
Yes.
Some 7,000 Palestinians are still missing.
Yes.
Presumed dead.
Yeah.
Under the rubble.
Yeah.
Palestinians in Gaza are subjected to relentless bombing wherever they go. They are killed in their homes, in places where they seek shelter, in hospitals, in schools, in mosques, in churches, and as they try to find food and water for their families. They have been killed if they failed to evacuate. In the places to which they have fled, and even while they attempted to flee along Israeli-declared safe routes. The level of killing is so extensive that those whose bodies are found are buried in mass graves, often unidentified. In the first 3 weeks alone, following 7 October, Israel deployed 6,000 bombs per week. At least 200 times it has deployed 2,000-pound bombs in southern areas of Palestine designated as safe. These bombs have also decimated the north, including refugee camps. 2,000-pound bombs are some of the biggest and most destructive bombs available They are dropped by lethal fighter jets that are used to strike targets on the ground by one of the world's most resourced armies. Israel has killed an unparalleled and unprecedented number of civilians, with the full knowledge of how many civilian lives each bomb will take.
Yes.
More than 1,800 families, Palestinian families in Gaza, have lost multiple family members, and hundreds of multi-generational families have been wiped out, with no remaining survivors. Mothers, fathers, children, siblings, grandparents, aunts, cousins, often all killed together.
What the hell?
This killing is nothing short of destruction of Palestinian life. It is inflicted deliberately. No one is spared, not even newborn babies. The scale of Palestinian child killings in Gaza is such that UN chiefs have described it as a graveyard for children.
Yep.
The devastation, we submit, is intended to and has laid waste to Gaza beyond any acceptable legal, let alone humane, justification. The second genocidal act identified in South Africa's application is Israel's infliction of serious bodily or mental harm to Palestinians in Gaza in violation of Article 2B of the Genocide Convention. Israel's attacks have left close to 60,000 Palestinians wounded and maimed. Again, the majority of them women and children. This in circumstances where the healthcare system has all but collapsed. I'll return to this later in my speech. Large numbers of Palestinian civilians, including children, are arrested, blindfolded, forced to undress, and loaded onto trucks, taken to unknown locations.
Israel's right there, just watch. Look at that
The suffering of the
stare.
Palestinian people, physical and mental, is undeniable.
What the hell?
Turning to the third genocidal act under Article 2C. Israel has deliberately imposed conditions on Gaza that cannot sustain
What the-
life and are calculated to bring about its physical
What the
destruction.
hell? That's so...
Israel achieves
crazy.
this in at least 4 ways. First, by displacement. Israel has forced the displacement of about 85% of Palestinians in Gaza. There is nowhere safe for them to flee to. Those who cannot leave or refuse to be displaced have either been killed or at extreme risk of being killed in their homes. Many Palestinians have been displaced multiple times as families are forced to move repeatedly in search of safety. Israel's first evacuation order on 13 October required the evacuation of over 1 million people, including children, the elderly, the wounded, and infirm. Entire hospitals were required to evacuate, even newborn babies in intensive care. The order required them to evacuate the north to the south within 24 hours.
You know how impossible that is?
The order itself was genocidal.
Yeah.
It required immediate movement, taking only what could be carried, while no humanitarian assistance was permitted, and fuel, water, and food, and other necessities of life had deliberately been cut off. It was clearly calculated to bring about the destruction of the population.
Yes.
For many Palestinians, the forced evacuation from their homes is inevitably permanent. Israel has now damaged or destroyed an estimated 355,000 Palestinian homes, leaving at least 500,000 Palestinians with no home to return to. the Special Rapporteur on the Human Rights of Internally Displaced Persons explains that houses and infrastructure, I quote, have been razed to the ground, frustrating any realistic prospects for displaced Gazans to return home, repeating a long history of mass forced displacement of Palestinians by Israel. There is no indication at all that Israel accepts responsibility for rebuilding what it has destroyed. Instead, the destruction is celebrated by the Israeli army. Soldiers film themselves joyfully detonating entire apartment blocks and town squares, erecting the Israeli flag over the wreckage, seeking to re-establish Israeli settlements on the rubble of Palestinian homes.
Boo.
And thus extinguishing the very
Free
basis
Palestine.
of Palestinian life in Gaza. Second, together with the forced displacement, Israel's conduct has been deliberately calculated to cause widespread hunger, dehydration, and starvation. Israel's campaign has pushed Gazans to the brink of famine. An unprecedented 93% of the population in Gaza is facing crisis levels of hunger. Of all the people in the world currently suffering catastrophic hunger, more than 80% are in Gaza. The situation is such that the experts are now predicting that more Palestinians in Gaza may die from starvation and disease than airstrikes. And yet Israel continues to impede the effective delivery of humanitarian assistance to Palestinians, not only refusing to allow sufficient aid in, but removing the ability to distribute it through constant bombardment and obstruction. Just 3 days ago, on 8 January, a planned mission by UN agencies to deliver urgent medical supplies and vital fuel to a hospital and medical supply center was denied by Israeli authorities. This marked the 5th denial of a mission to the center since 26 December, leaving 5 hospitals in northern Gaza without access to life-saving medical supplies and equipment. Yeah. Aid trucks that are allowed in are seized upon by the hungry. What is provided is simply not enough.
Yeah.
Madam President, members of the court, this is an image of an aid truck arriving in Gaza. Third, Israel has deliberately inflicted conditions in which Palestinians in Gaza are denied adequate shelter, clothes, or sanitation. For weeks, there have been acute shortages of clothes, bedding, blankets, and critical non-food items. Clean water is all but gone, leaving far below the amount required to safely drink, clean, and cook. Accordingly, the WHO has stated that Gaza is experiencing soaring rates of infectious disease outbreaks. Cases of diarrhea in children under 5 years of age have increased 2,000% since hostilities began. When combined and left untreated, malnutrition and disease create a deadly cycle. The 4th genocidal act under Article 2B is Israel's military assault on Gaza's healthcare system, which renders life unsustainable. Even by 7 December, the UN Special Rapporteur on the right to health noted that the healthcare of infrastructure in the Gaza Strip has been completely obliterated. Those wounded by Israel in Gaza are being deprived of life-saving medical care. Gaza's healthcare system, already crippled by years of blockade and prior attacks by Israel, is unable to cope with the sheer scale of the injuries. Finally, the UN Special Rapporteur on Violence Against Women and Girls has pointed to acts committed by Israel that would fall under the fourth category of genocidal acts in Article 2D of the Convention. On 22 November, she expressly warned the following: the reproductive violence inflicted by Israel on Palestinian women, newborn babies, infants, and children could be qualified as acts of genocide under Article 2 of the Genocide Convention, including imposing measures intended to prevent births within a group. Israel is blocking the delivery of life-saving aid, including essential medical kits for delivering babies, in circumstances where an estimated 180 women are giving birth in Gaza each day. Of these 180 women, the WHO warns that 15% are likely to experience pregnancy or birth-related complications and need additional medical care. That care is simply not available. In sum, Madam President, all of these acts, individually and collectively, form a calculated pattern of conduct by Israel, indicating a genocidal intent. This intent is evident from Israel's conduct in specially targeting Palestinians living in Gaza, using weaponry that causes large-scale homicidal destruction, as well as targeted sniping of civilians, designating safe zones for Palestinians to seek refuge, and then bombing these, depriving Palestinians in Gaza of basic needs: food, water, healthcare, fuel, sanitation, and communications, destroying social infrastructure, homes, schools, mosques, churches, hospitals, and killing, seriously injuring, and leaving large numbers of children orphaned. Genocides are never declared in advance, but this court has the benefit of the past 13 weeks of evidence that shows incontrovertibly a pattern of conduct and related intention that justifies a plausible claim of genocidal acts. In the Gambia-Myanmar case, this court did not hesitate to impose provisional measures in relation to allegations that Myanmar was committing genocidal acts against the Rohingya within the Rakhine State. The facts before the court today are sadly even more stark, and like the Gambia-Myanmar case, deserve and demand this court's intervention. Every day, there is mounting irreparable loss of life, property, dignity, and humanity for the Palestinian people. Our news feeds show graphic images of suffering that has become unbearable to watch. Nothing will stop the suffering except an order from this court. Yeah. Without an indication of provisional measures, the atrocities will continue, with the Israeli Defense Force indicating that it intends pursuing this course of action for at least a year. In the words of the UN Under-Secretary General on 5 January 2024, I quote, "You think getting aid into Gaza is easy? Think again. 3 layers of inspections before trucks can even enter. Confusion and long queues. A growing list of rejected items. A crossing point meant for pedestrians, not trucks. Another crossing point where trucks have been blocked by desperate, hungry communities. A destroyed commercial sector. Constant bombardments, poor communications, damaged roads, convoys shot at, delays at checkpoints.
Yeah.
A traumatized and exhausted population crammed into a smaller and smaller sliver of land. Shelters which have long exceeded their full capacity. Aid workers themselves displaced, killed. This is an impossible situation for the people of Gaza and for those trying to help them. The fighting must stop." Close quote. Madam President, members of the court, that concludes my section on the genocidal conduct of Israel. I thank you for your patient attention, and I ask that you call Advocate Mukatobi to the podium to address the court on genocidal intent.
I thank Ms. Hassim, and I now invite Mr. Tembeke Mukatobi to address the court. You have the floor, sir.
Clap, guys. Clap in the chat right now. Right now. Right now. Free Palestine. From the river to the sea.
Madam President and distinguished members of the court, it is a privilege to appear before the court on behalf of South Africa. I will address Israel's genocidal intent. At this stage, the court is not required to determine that the only inference to be drawn from the available evidence is genocidal, to order provisional measures, as that is to decide the merits. Rather, the assessment of the existence of an intent to destroy could be made by the court only at the stage of the examination of the merits. That some of the alleged acts may also amount to atrocities other than genocide does not exclude the finding of plausible acts of genocide. Madam President, South Africa is not alone in drawing attention to Israel's genocidal rhetoric against Palestinians in Gaza. 15 United Nations special rapporteurs and 21 members of the United Nations working groups have warned that what is happening in Gaza reflects a genocide in the making and an overt intent to destroy the Palestinian people under occupation. Israel has a genocidal intent against the Palestinians in Gaza.
Yes.
That is evident from the way in which Israel's military attack is being conducted, which has been described by Ms. Hassim as C. It is systematic in its character and form. The mass displacement of the population of Gaza, headed into areas where they continue to be killed, and the deliberate creation of conditions that, quote, lead to a slow death, unquote. There is also the clear pattern of conduct, the targeting of family homes and civilian infrastructure, laying waste to vast areas of Gaza, and the bombing, shelling, and sniping of men, women, and children where they stand, the destruction of the health infrastructure, and lack of access to humanitarian assistance. So much so that as we stand today, 1% of the Palestinian population in Gaza has been systematically decimated. and 1 in 4 Gazans have been injured since 7 October. These 2 elements alone are capable of evidencing Israel's genocidal intent in relation to the whole or part of the Palestinian population in Gaza. However, third, there is an extraordinary feature in this case, that Israel's political leaders, military commanders, and persons holding official positions have systematically and in explicit terms declared their genocidal intent. And these statements are then repeated by soldiers on the ground in Gaza as they engage in the destruction of Palestinians and the physical infrastructure of Gaza. We show this third element next. Israel's special genocidal intent is rooted in the belief that, in fact, the enemy is not just the military wing of Hamas, or indeed Hamas generally, but is embedded in the fabric of Palestinian life in Gaza. On 7 October, in a televised address, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declared war on Gaza, and I quote, "Israel had started clearing out the communities that have been infiltrated by terrorists." And he warned of an unprecedented price to be paid by the enemy. There are more than 2.3 million Palestinians in Gaza. Israel is the occupying power in control of Gaza. It controls entry, exit, and the internal movements of inside Gaza. And qua Prime Minister, Mr. Netanyahu exercises overall command over the Israeli Defense Force and, in turn, the Palestinians in Gaza. Prime Minister Netanyahu, in his address to the Israeli forces on 28 October 2023, preparing for the invasion of Gaza, urged the soldiers to remember what Amalek has done to you. This refers to the biblical command by God to Saul for the retaliatory destruction of an entire group of people known as the Amalekites. Put to death men and women, children and infants, cattle and sheep, camels and donkeys. The genocidal invocation to Amalek was anything but idle. It was repeated by Mr. Netanyahu in a letter to the Israeli Armed Forces on 3 November 2023. Madam President, let the Prime Minister's words speak for themselves.
Israel shaken. Can't hear it.
Has done to you, says our Holy Bible, and we do remember, and we are fighting our brave troops and combatants who are now in Gaza or around Gaza. And
might want to play that again. Ooh. Technical difficulties.
The Deputy Speaker of the Knesset, Israel's parliament, has called for the erasure of the Gaza Strip from the face of the earth. The Defense Force agrees. On 9 October, the Defense Minister, Yoav Gallant,
play it again.
A situation update to the army,
sabotage,
where he said that as Israel was imposing a complete siege on Gaza, there would be no electricity, no food, no water, no fuel. Everything would be closed because Israel is fighting human animals. Speaking to troops on the Gaza border, he instructed them that he has released all the restraints and that Gaza won't return to what it was before. We will eliminate everything. We will reach all places. Eliminate everything. Reach all places without any restraints. The theme of destruction of human animals was reiterated by an Israeli army coordinator of government activities in the territories on 9 October 2023, who, in an address to Hamas and the residents of Gaza, stated that Hamas has become ISIS and that the citizens of Gaza are celebrating instead of being horrified.
Yeah, what the hell?
He concluded that human animals are dealt with accordingly. Israel has imposed a total blockade on Gaza. No electricity, no water, just damage. You wanted hell, you will get hell. The language of systematic dehumanization is evident here. Human animals. Both Hamas and civilians are condemned. Within the Israeli cabinet, this is also a widely held view. The Minister of Energy and Infrastructure, Israel Katz, called for the denial of water and fuel, as this is what will happen to a people of children killers and slaughterers. This admits of no ambiguity. It means to create conditions of death of the Palestinian people in Gaza. To die a slow death because of starvation and dehydration, or to die quickly because of a bomb attack or snipers, but to die nevertheless. Yep. In fact, Heritage Minister Amichai Eliyahu said that Israel must find ways for Gazans that are more painful than death. It is no answer to say that neither are in command of the army. They are ministers in the Israeli government. They vote in the Knesset and are in a position to shape state policy.
Who are the real animals?
The intent to destroy Gaza has been nurtured at the highest levels of state, as President Isaac Herzog has joined the ranks of those signing bombs destined for Gaza. Having previously noted that the entire population in Gaza is responsible and that this rhetoric about civilians not aware, not involved is absolutely not true, we will fight until we break their backbone. Later attempts by the president...
He's quoting people, by the way. He's quoting Israelis.
...have not altered the sting of his words, which was to tar all Palestinians as responsible for the actions of Hamas. Nor, as I will show below, has it affected how state policy is understood within government. The Minister of National Security repeated the president's statements that Hamas and civilians are responsible in equal measure. On 10 November 2023, in a televised interview, he stated that when we say that Hamas should be destroyed, it also means those who celebrate, those who support, and those who hand out candy. They are all terrorists, and they should also be destroyed. These are orders to destroy and to maim what cannot be destroyed. These statements are not open to neutral interpretations or after-the-fact rationalizations and reinterpretations by Israel. The statements were made by persons in command of the state. They communicated state policy. It is simple. If the statements were not intended, they would not have been made. The genocidal intent behind these statements is not ambiguous to the Israeli soldiers on the ground. Indeed, it is directing their actions and objectives. On 7 December 2023, Israeli soldiers proved that they understood the Prime Minister's message to remember what the Amalek has done to you as genocidal. They were recorded by journalists dancing and singing. We know our motto, there are no uninvolved, that they obey one commandment, to wipe off the seed of Amalek. The Prime Minister's invocation of Amalek is being used by soldiers to justify the killing of civilians, including children. These are the soldiers repeating the inciting words of their Prime Minister. Israeli soldiers in Gaza
Israel
were filmed
shaking.
dancing, chanting, and singing in November. May their village
Look at him shaking
band,
on the bottom.
May Gaza be erased.
He was actually shaking.
Now a trend among the soldiers to film themselves
my God.
committing atrocities against civilians in Gaza in the form of snuff video. One recorded himself detonating over 50 houses in Shujaiya.
His legs were like this.
Other soldiers were recorded singing, "We will destroy all of Khan Yunis and this house. We will blow it up for you and for everything you do for us." These are the soldiers putting into effect
Israel right
their
now. Israel right
command.
now.
שכונת סג'אעיה ז"ל, נחל עוז, בעזרת השם יהיה לכם.
חטיבה 828, אומרת סג'אעיה שלום.
מדהים. 30 בתים, גדוד 749.
כאן מתחיל הניצחון.
You can hear in the background, they're like singing and stuff.
עם ישראל חי.
That's crazy.
The commanders of the army are also of the same mind. Israeli army commander Yair Ben David has stated that the army had done in Beit Hanon and did there as Shimon and Levi did in Nablus, and that the entire Gaza should resemble Beit Hanon. Israeli soldier Yeshai Shalev published a video against the backdrop of the ruins of what was the site of Al-Azhar University with the caption, "Once upon a time, there was a university in Gaza, and in practice, a school for murderers and human animals." Soldiers obviously believe that this language and their actions are acceptable because the destruction of Palestinian life in Gaza is articulated state policy. Senior political and military officials encouraged without censure the 95-year-old Israeli army reservist Ezra Yachin, a veteran of the Deir Yassin massacre against the Palestinians in 1948, to speak to the soldiers ahead of the ground invasion in Gaza. In his tour, he echoed the same sentiment while being driven around in an officially Israeli army vehicle dressed in Israeli army fatigue. I quote, "Be triumphant and finish them off, and don't leave anyone behind. Erase the memory of them. Erase them, their families, mothers, and children. These animals can no longer live. If you have an Arab neighbor, don't wait, go to his home and shoot him. We want to invade, not like before. We want to enter and destroy what's in front of us, and destroy houses, then destroy the one after it. With all of our forces, complete destruction, enter and destroy. As you can see, we will witness things we've never dreamed of. Let them drop bombs on them and erase them." As recently as 7 January 2024, a video of a soldier was posted online where he boasts that the army had destroyed the entire village of Hibat Azar. For 2 weeks, he said, they had worked hard to bomb the village and executed their mandate. Any suggestion that senior politicians did not mean what they said, much less that the meaning was not understood by soldiers in Gaza, would be without any merit. The scale of destruction in Gaza, the mass targeting of family homes and civilians, the war being a war on children, all make clear that genocidal intent is both understood and is being put into practice. The articulated intent is the destruction of Palestinian life in all its manifestations. The genocidal rhetoric is also commonplace within the Israeli Knesset. Members of the Knesset have repeatedly called for Gaza to be wiped out, flattened, erased, and crushed on all its inhabitants. They have deplored anyone feeling sorry for the uninvolved Gazans, asserting repeatedly that there are no uninvolved, that there are no innocents in Gaza, that the killers of the women and children should not be separated from the citizens of Gaza, and that the children of Gaza have brought this upon themselves, and that there should be one sentence for everyone there, death. Finally, the lawmakers have called for mercilessly bombing from the air, with some advocating for the use of nuclear doomsday weapons, and a Nakba that will overshadow the Nakba of 48.
Yeah.
The Prime Minister's genocidal speech has gained ground among some elements of civil society. A famous singer has repeated Mr. Netanyahu's Amalek reference, stating that Gaza must be wiped out and be destroyed with every Amalek seed. We simply must destroy all of Gaza and exterminate everyone who is there. Another has called to erase Gaza, not leave a single person there. Journalists and commentators have announced that the woman is an enemy, the baby is an enemy, the pregnant woman is an enemy. That it is necessary to turn the strip into a slaughterhouse, to demolish every house our soldiers come across, exterminate everyone. The intentional failure of the government of Israel to condemn, prevent, and punish such genocidal incitement constitutes in itself a grave violation of the Genocide Convention. We should recall, Madam President, that in Article 1 of the Convention, Israel confirmed that genocide, whether committed in time of peace or in time of war, is a crime under international law. And it undertook to prevent and to punish it as such. This failure to prevent, condemn, and punish such speech by the government has served to normalize genocidal rhetoric and extreme danger for Palestinians within Israeli society. As MK Moshe Sada from the Likud party has said, the government's own attorneys share his views that Palestinians in Gaza must be destroyed. I quote, "You go anywhere and they tell you to destroy them. In the kibbutz, they tell you to destroy them. My friends at the state attorney's office who fought with me on political issues in debate said to me, it is clear that we need to destroy all Gazans. Destroy all Gazans." Israel is aware of its destruction of Palestinian life and infrastructure. Despite this knowledge, it has maintained and indeed intensified its military activity in Gaza. As to full awareness, in the week after 7 October, NGOs and the United Nations warned of an unprecedented humanitarian crisis in Gaza. The UN stated that actors must allow humanitarian teams and goods to immediately and safely reach the hundreds of thousands of people in need. So right from the beginning, Israel knew that it was depriving water, food, electricity, and essentials for survival. It said so. Everything is closed. It has known that it was depriving Palestinians of health care and treatment for injury in the middle of an unprecedented bombardment, of food and water, and of other essentials for survival. This prompted the World Health Organization to say, "We are on our knees asking for sustained, scaled-up, protected humanitarian operations, appealing to all those in a situation to make a decision
Free Palestine in the chat.
or influence decision makers to give us the humanitarian space to address this human catastrophe." Despite this knowledge, Israel continues to target infrastructure essential for survival: water and sanitation infrastructure, solar panels, bakeries, mills, crops. It bombs hospitals, decimating the healthcare system. It targets aid workers and the infrastructure of the United Nations. It is because of the policy of Israel that Gaza has become a place of death and despair. In conclusion, Madam President, many propagators of grave atrocities have protested that they were misunderstood, that they did not mean what they said, and that their own words were taken out of context. What state would admit to a genocidal intent? Yet, the distinctive feature of this case has not been the silence as such, but the reiteration and repetition of genocidal speech throughout every sphere of state in Israel. We remind the court of the identity and authority of the genocidal inciters: the Prime Minister, the President, the Minister of Defense, the Minister of National Security, the Minister of Energy and Infrastructure, members of the Knesset, senior army officials, and foot soldiers. Genocidal utterances are therefore not out in the fringes. They are embodied in state policy. The intent to destroy is plainly understood by soldiers on the ground. It is also fully understood by some within the Israeli society, with the government facing criticism for allowing in any aid to Gaza on the basis that it is recanting on its promise to starve Palestinians. Any suggestion that Israeli officials did not mean what they said or were not fully understood by soldiers and civilians alike to mean what they said
Israel's shaking.
should be rejected by this court. The evidence of genocidal intent is not only chilling, it is also overwhelming and incontrovertible. Madam President, it is now my honor to request you to call Mr. John Dugard on the subject of jurisdiction.
I thank Mr. Bukai-Toby, and I now invite Professor John Dugard to take the floor. You have the floor, Professor.
Claps in the chat right now. By the way, I'm live on YouTube. If you're on TikTok, it's better quality and you can see the bigger screen. You can see everything. So YouTube is Hamza Saada. It's in my bio. Just click on the YouTube icon or the Instagram icon and then press YouTube. But clap in the chat though. Free Palestine.
Madam President, distinguished members of the court, it is a great privilege to appear before you today on behalf of the Republic of South Africa. In my speech, I will address the question of jurisdiction. The people of South Africa and of Israel both have a history of suffering. Both states have become parties to the Genocide Convention in the determination to end suffering. In this spirit, neither has attached a reservation to Article 9 of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. It is in terms of this convention dedicated to saving humanity that South Africa brings this dispute before the court. The prohibition on genocide is a peremptory norm. Obligations under the Genocide Convention are erga omnes, obligations owed to the international community as a whole. States parties to this convention are obliged not only to desist from genocidal acts, but also to prevent them. That the obligation of state parties to prevent acts of genocide is the foundation of the convention is clear from its placement in Article 1 of the convention.
I don't know who's coughed, so they don't get a saha. Maybe it's the Israel.
State parties are guardians of the Genocide Convention. Unlike other treaties designed to protect human rights, it does not oblige states to pursue negotiations as a prelude to approaching this court. It does not treat the ending of genocidal acts as a bilateral affair between states. Instead, it envisages a situation in which a state, acting on behalf of the international community as a whole, seizes the jurisdiction of the court as a matter of urgency to prevent genocide. South Africa has a long history of close relations with Israel. For this reason, it did not bring the dispute immediately to the attention of the court. It watched with horror as Israel responded to the terrible atrocities committed against its people on 7 October, with an attack on Gaza that resulted in the indiscriminate killing of innocent Palestinian civilians, most of whom were women and children. The South African government repeatedly voiced its concerns in the Security Council and in public statements that Israel's actions had become genocidal.
Okay, but do you condemn Hamas?
On 10 November, in a formal diplomatic démarche,
Do you condemn Hamas?
Israel that while it condemned the actions of Hamas, it wanted the International Criminal Court to investigate the leadership of Israel for international crimes, including genocide. As the court will know, the definition of genocide in the Rome Statute repeats that of the Genocide Convention. On 17 October, South Africa referred Israel's commission of the crime of genocide to the International Criminal Court for, quote, vigorous investigation, unquote. In announcing this decision, President Ramaphosa publicly expressed his abhorrence for what is happening right now in Gaza, which is now turned into a concentration camp where genocide is taking place.
He's shaking. He's still shaking, that guy. The Israeli guy.
Committing acts of genocide and to condemn it in such strong language is a major act on the part of a state. At this stage, it became clear that there was a serious dispute between South Africa and Israel, which would end only with the end of Israel's genocidal acts. South Africa repeated this accusation at a meeting of BRICS on 21 November and at an emergency special session of the United Nations General Assembly on 12 December. No response from Israel was forthcoming. None was necessary. By this time, the dispute had crystallized as a matter of law. This was confirmed by Israel's official and unequivocal denial on 6 December that it was committing genocide in Gaza. However, as a matter of courtesy, before filing the present application, on 21 December, South Africa sent a note verbal to the Embassy of Israel to reiterate its view that Israel's acts of genocide in Gaza amounted to genocide, that it, as a state party to the Genocide Convention, was under an obligation to prevent genocide from being committed. Israel responded by way of a note verbal that failed to address the issues raised by South Africa in its note and neither affirmed nor denied the existence of a dispute. This was emailed later on the 27th of December. This note was received by the relevant South African team on the 29th of December after the present application was filed. On 4 January, South Africa replied to this note verbal, highlighting Israel's failure to prevent any response to the matters raised by South Africa over the previous months, as reiterated in its note verbal. South Africa made it clear that given Israel's ongoing conduct against Palestinians in Gaza, the dispute referred to in its note verbal of 21 December remained unresolved and was plainly not capable of resolution by way of a bilateral meeting. Nevertheless, South Africa proposed a meeting on 5 January, again out of courtesy. Israel responded to this note verbal by proposing that we reconnect to coordinate a meeting at the earliest opportunity after the close of hearings in the present case. To this, South Africa understandably replied that such a meeting would serve no purpose. Madam President, these notes verbal are all to be found in the judge's folder. The existence of a dispute is a matter to be determined by an objective determination of the facts as they existed at the time of the filing of the application. At this time, South Africa had already accused Israel in the Security Council, the General Assembly, and other public fora of engaging in genocidal acts. It had conducted a diplomatic démarche on Israel, warning it that it viewed its conduct as genocidal. It had requested the International Criminal Court to vigorously investigate crimes under the Genocide Convention committed by Israel in the Gaza Strip, and it accused Israel inter alia of the deliberate targeting of civilians, intentionally causing starvation and impeding relief supplies. It had accused Israeli leaders of expressing, quote, the intent of committing genocide. Israel had flatly denied South Africa's accusations. Despite these harsh accusations, Israel has persisted in its genocidal acts against the population of Gaza. What more evidence could be required to establish a dispute? It is precisely because of a situation of this kind, affecting the internet.
Everything South Africa is saying right now is going through one ear and out the other for these Israelis that are listening. They are not going to mention any of this in their response tomorrow.
To seizing the jurisdiction of the court. Certainly, a respondent state cannot prevent a referral to the court by claiming that there is no dispute and that it wants discussions on this matter when the existence of the dispute is clear. For a state to insist on a time frame for negotiations would simply be a license to commit genocide and would run counter to the object and purpose of the Genocide Convention. Madam President, the question of the crystallization of a dispute has been addressed by this court in preliminary objections at the merit stage where the burden of proof is higher. Although the court has generally adopted a flexible approach to the subject, it has laid down a number of tests for the existence of a dispute. First, it must be shown that the claim of one party is positively opposed by the other. Second, the date for determining the existence of the dispute is the date of the application, but subsequent conduct may be considered. 3, whether the dispute exists must be determined by an objective determination of the facts. And 4, a dispute exists when it is demonstrated on the basis of the evidence that the respondent was aware or could not have been unaware that its views were positively opposed. When these propositions are applied to the facts of this case, it is incontrovertible that a dispute exists between South Africa and Israel. South Africa strongly believes that what Israel is doing in Gaza amounts to genocide. Israel denies this and claims that such an accusation is legally and factually wrong and, moreover, is obscene. So an objective determination of the facts shows that a dispute existed on the date of the submission of South Africa's application, and this has been confirmed by Israel's subsequent statements and by its continuing conduct in Gaza. Moreover, Israel must have been aware from South Africa's public statements, the démarche, and the referral of the matter to the International Criminal Court of Israel's genocidal acts that a dispute existed between the two states. Madam President, the Court has indicated that in an application for provisional measures, it is sufficient to show that there is a prima facie basis for jurisdiction. It is submitted that South Africa has convincingly established the existence of a dispute between it and Israel over the fulfillment of the latter's obligations under the Genocide Convention. Finally, it is submitted that regard should be had to the special considerations that apply to the existence of a dispute under Article 9 of the Genocide Convention between a state that brings an application in furtherance of its obligation to prevent genocide and a state accused of committing genocide. This concludes my speech, Madam President. I thank you, the members of the Court, for your attention. I now ask you to call to the podium Professor Max du Plessis to address you on the nature of the rights requiring protection and the link between such rights and the measures requested. Thank you.
I thank you, Professor Dugard. Before I give
Claps in the chat.
Speaker, the Court will observe a coffee break of 10 minutes. Sitting is adjourned.
Coffee break. Coffee break when people are dying? What kind of shit is this? What? Coffee break? What? Starbucks or which one? What brand? What brand? What brand? What brand? Is this homemade? What are we doing? Bro. This is crazy. Okay, so 10 minutes to leave, and then 10 minutes to drink coffee, and then 10 minutes to come back, and then 10 minutes to start again. Right? Is that what they mean? Look at that guy. I'm not the Israeli guy is what I'm talking about. Shaking. Look at him. Look at him shaking. He's shame. Look. He doesn't even want to show his face. He's turning around. Oh. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Well, that was interesting. I'm confused though. When is Israel responding? That's what they said in tomorrow, but is it tomorrow or is that something else? Are they responding right away, like right after this? Because if it is right after this, that is kind of crazy. Tomorrow? Okay. I'll should I stream it? I feel like it's like I don't know. I don't know if I should stream it though. I might just laugh at them. Yeah? Okay. I will. But that's very interesting. Yeah. I don't know, man. That's the problem is that everything that is being said right now by the people of South Africa is amazing, and we need to. That's what we need, right? That's what the people need to hear. That's what the world needs to hear. But the problem is that everything that is being said will not be talked about tomorrow, or lies will just be spread again. You know, I mean, how are they going to deny everything, or even one thing that South Africa just said? How are they going to deny anything? How? You can't. I mean, there's proof of every single thing that has been mentioned. So what I think is going to happen is that they are not going to mention a single, like they're going to dodge every single one of those points and every single one of those questions. You know? So shout out to, by the way, shout out to all South Africans in the chat. Other than that one settler I talked to that lives in Israel that tried justifying everything. Other than that guy and a few other people that support Israel from a majority of South Africa are amazing, and so shout out to everyone from South Africa. I appreciate you guys for being here and watching. But yeah, much love to South Africa, and inshallah Palestine will be free, and this will do something. And hopefully, yes, it will end the genocide and will stop the genocide, but also stop the blockade and the occupation, and something else happens. You know what I mean? I don't want this to be another, I don't think anyone wants this to be another, okay, let's pause this for, like, I don't know, let's have another 10 years, 16 years of blockade, and then it's going to happen again. I don't want to see that. No one wants to see that. We can't let that happen. We have an opportunity right now to you know, not only to end the genocide, but to also stop the occupation and give the Palestinians equal rights and human rights. What the hell? So I hope this is, you know, first of all, I hope this even like goes through, right? That's something we have to talk about as well. Like, what happens if it does not go through? Literally, let's talk about that. What the hell will happen if this does not go through? Palestine is, I mean, they're just going to continue bombing Gaza as if it's like what the hell? Is that a possibility? Yeah, of course it's a possibility. I mean, they've been doing this for the past 75 years, killing Palestinians and occupying Palestinian land. They've been doing it for 75 years. Of course, it's a possibility that this will not go through. Inshallah it does. I really hope it does go through. I mean, all proof is being shown. Everything is being said. And I'm sure they are sourcing everything they are saying. And that is also something that the ICJ, is it ICJ? Yeah, ICJ, right? ICJ is also seeing, right? I hope they're also seeing the proof of everything, the sources and everything. But I don't know. It's a very interesting situation right now. I don't know what's gonna happen. But I wanted to quickly thank people that donated over on YouTube. I'm sorry I did not read any of that. I was watching, obviously. But Unknown YT, thank you for the $5 donation saying Free Palestine. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, Unknown. Thank you. Yeah. He typed more, but it was I don't know what that's about. Thank you, Unknown. Appreciate that. Lutfi, thank you for the donation as well. I appreciate that $2 dono. And SOS Sohel, thank you for the gifted membership. I appreciate that. Thank you. One gifted membership. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Sohel. Thank you. And Spy Ninja, thank you for the 75 dirhams. I don't know what that is in USD. I assume it's like $15. 75 AED to USD. Let me see. $20. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You don't have to do that. Appreciate it. Thank you. And to everyone gifting on TikTok, I saw so many of them. I'm so sorry if I didn't say your name or anything, but I appreciate you. Thank you. Anyways, I didn't want to ignore any of that. Appreciate you guys. Where are you from? I am Palestinian. I am 100% Palestinian. My dad's side, 100%. My mom's side, 100%. Common question. I am Palestinian. Alhamdulillah. Yes. And I'm also Muslim, to those that are asking. And I am 20 years old. David Plessman, thank you for the $5 donation, saying, I'm an American Israeli citizen, free Palestine, and shame on US for funding this. David, I appreciate that. David. Can we get some W David in the chat? Thank you so very much. I appreciate that. And I assume you're not in Israel right now because you would not be able to say anything like that in Israel. So I really do appreciate that. W David in the chat right now saying, I'm an American Israeli citizen, free Palestine, and shame on US for funding this. We need more people like you. We really do. We really do. We really do. W David. Can we get some hearts in the chat for David? Let's go. I appreciate that. Thank you for the dono. You didn't have to do that either, by the way. But yeah, they're on their coffee break while people are getting genocided. Yalla. Isn't that crazy, though? Is that not insane? Coffee break, really, bro? Why is this happening 3 months later, by the way? Why is this happening 3 months later? Why not immediately after they started going crazy and bombing everything, hospitals, schools, mosques, and innocent civilian homes? And what happened to that? Why 3 months later? Why not? You know how many lives could have been saved? I mean, better, you know, sooner than more later than, I guess, than it could be. So I'm glad it's happening, but it's definitely still could have been better for sure. Spy Ninja, thank you for the 185 dirhams. What is that to USD? Let me see that. I appreciate that. Better late than never. Yeah, that's the word. I didn't know the the saying, but you know, you knew it was there. It was somewhere there. Thank you for fixing that. $50. I appreciate that. Khalas. Thank you so much, Spy Ninja, for the $50 donation, saying, I am from the UAE and I'm giving food to the Palestinian people. Thank you so much, Spy Ninja. I appreciate that. And also, go to sharethemeal.org. You can donate directly to the kids in Gaza. H, thank you for the watermelon on TikTok Live. I appreciate that. But sharethemeal.org. I think it is, right? Share the meal? Sharethemeal.org. Yeah, it's sharethemeal.org. You can donate directly to the families in Gaza, and you can donate some meals there. And you can go to the PCRF and other organizations such as Heal Palestine. That's a new one that the founder of PCRF started. He started a new one, which is Heal Palestine. I don't know if you can donate to it yet, but I recommend you donate to that one as well when it's out, which is for aid and all types of stuff for the Palestinian people. But yeah, Mustafa. Spy, thank you, by the way. Thank you so much. Mustafa with the 5 gifted memberships. Thank you, Mustafa. I appreciate that. Can we get some love in the chat for Mustafa gifting some memberships? I appreciate that. To anyone that becomes a member, I really do appreciate that, by the way. I know I missed... Did I miss any? I think I did. Oh, Suhail, thank you. Yeah, I missed that. That was 30 minutes ago. Thank you, Suhail. I appreciate that. Kareem with the $10 donation. No message included in that donation. Just Kareem sending $10. Yo, I appreciate that, man. Thank you, Kareem. Thank you. Is it over? It is not over. They took a 10-minute Starbucks genocidal break, so we're going to let them do their thing. But it starts up here in a bit, probably in the next few minutes. It's been 10 minutes, I think, so... Yeah, Kareem, thank you so much. W Kareem in the chat, though. Thank you for the $10 donation. Hamdi with the $1 donation. Hamdi, I appreciate that. Thank you for the $1 donation. ICX Vibe with the $20 donation, saying woot, which is, I guess, like an emote on YouTube. Thank you so much. You guys don't need to do any of this. Wallah, I appreciate it. I don't want to miss any of them, so I'm going to read them, but you really, really do not have to do that. South Africa will not drink coffee. We drink tea. Yeah, no, they were definitely flabbergasted by that coffee break. 100%. They're like, wait, hold on. I know it's typical in things like this. I know it's typical to have breaks. I'm just joking around, but I don't know. It's still kind of insane, though. I mean, this is like, come on. I'm Mahmoud from Gaza. Thank you so much for being here, Mahmoud. I appreciate you. Thank you for commenting that and letting me know. Habibi, bro. So yeah, Icy, thank you for the $20 donation. Can we get some Icy hype in the chat? Can we get some love in the chat for Icy vibe? Thank you. Knight Rider with the $5 donation. Thank you for that, Knight Rider in the chat. Get some love in the chat for Knight Rider. Thank you so much for that. 2RK with the $10 donation saying, respect your patience, effort, and dedication. Much love from Australia, brother. Thank you so very much for that donation and that very, very kind message. I really do appreciate that, 2RK. While the effort, dedication, and patience is the least I can do for the Palestinian people right now, for my people. They're being killed, they're being genocided, murdered, and I am living under a roof and I have food and water. So the least I could do is talk about this, make videos about it, and use my platform that I have to spread awareness and the truth. So I do appreciate that donation. Thank you so very, very much. Love in the chat for 2RK. Thank you. It's me, Aish. Is it Aisha? Because there's no A at the end, but Aish. Okay, it's me, Aish. Thank you for the $15 donation saying the truth will always prevail. It will, and I think it is. I really do appreciate that. Thank you for the donation, Aish, AISH in the chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. And the truth does always prevail. It does. And inshallah, Palestine will be free. Brother, are you really 21? I am not 21. I am 20. 20. I turned 21 in March 17th. March 17th. So it's soon. 2 months. And I'll be 21. I will be 21 very soon, guys. Uh-oh, 21. About to be legal. Uh-oh. My birthday's on the 17th. Yo, Fatima, let's go. Same birthday? No way. Ramadan birthday? Yeah. It's for this year. I don't know about next year. I think for the next few years. And then, because Ramadan it gets pushed 2 weeks every year, right? It is during Ramadan. Communist Gemini, thank you for the $2 donation saying, where can I get a genuine kafia? Where I get my mom gets my kafia, so I don't know where she gets hers from. But you can go to Pally Roots. Pally Roots has a lot of nice designs and kafias on their site. So you can check out pallyroots.com. And I don't know if they're in stock because obviously everyone is trying to get a kafia. But that is a Palestinian-owned merch site. And I also believe that, yeah, they have kafias. I think they are in stock. And I also believe that for every order, meals are donated to Palestine. So I definitely recommend, if you wanted to buy anything from anywhere, definitely Pally Roots. I also have my own merch company. I don't sell kafias, though. So if you want kafia, definitely go to Pally Roots. And they also have amazing designs. My merch brand is allthingspalestine.com. For every order, we plant an olive tree in Palestine, and we also donate a meal to families in Gaza. So, yeah, that is my merch company. And we have amazing designs as well. We have watermelon designs. We have Palestine map designs. And it is my brand, so you can 100% trust it if you trust my word, I guess. And I do show proof, obviously. I have a team in the West Bank right now, in Nablus and Jenin, that have already planted 2,000 trees, alhamdulillah, with your guys' support and help and donations and purchases of my brand. 1,000 trees in Jenin and 1,000 trees in Nablus. And we have pictures, we have videos. I've shown them on my Instagram stories and my Instagram group chat. I will continue to share videos. And it's all thanks to you guys. And inshallah, we'll continue to do so. And when the genocide is over and put to an end in Gaza, when we can go there, inshallah, we will also plant trees there. Inshallah. So, Yeah, allthingspalestine.com. It's in the description down below on my YouTube stream, and it's also in the link in my bio on my TikTok, allthingspalestine.com. So, yeah, we have some cool designs. We have phone cases as well, and we ship globally. We ship to every country, pretty much. The phone cases, not to every country, but like 90% of them. So, yeah. And we do not ship to Israel. Because why would we? But I know there's a lot of Palestinians on the occupied land, you know, so I definitely need to enable it so they can purchase things, because I've been getting messages from them. So I feel bad for that. So I will definitely enable it. And you know what? Even if Israelis buy my stuff, they're donating to Palestine. So who cares? All right? Right? I mean, I don't think they would buy anything, even though they're probably one of my biggest supporters. When I meet them online, they're, oh my God, man, I fucking hate you, but I also love your videos, but I don't love your videos. But I love you, but I hate you so much. That's like half of the interactions I have. So they're probably going to buy some stuff. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. Joe Hornsby with the $2 donation saying free Gaza from Wales. You put where you are from in Wales, but I have literally no idea how to pronounce that, and I am scared I will say that wrong. You know what I'll do? I will let I will let YouTube say it. Or not YouTube. What's this? Google Translate. I'll let Google Translate read this out, because I don't know how to read this and I don't want to say it wrong.
Pembrokeshire.
Yeah. Thank you. Much love to
Pembrokeshire.
Thank you. Much love once again to
Pembrokeshire.
Wales. Yep. Thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you for the dono, Joe. I appreciate that. Rusmaiti? How do I say that name? Hold on. Much love to much love to
Rusmayati.
Much love to you. Much love to
Russian.
No, not Russian. That's not the name that. Okay, it started. I'll read the rest of the donos in a bit. Thank you for the membership, though. Russian. Thank you. I appreciate that. It started again. Okay. They're done with their coffee break. Please be seated. Okay. How do I donate? You don't worry about it. Really. Go to the fundraiser in my Instagram bio. That's a good place. Okay.
Please be seated.
Please be seated after the...
Sitting is resumed. I now give the floor to Professor Max Duplessis. You have the floor, Professor.
Yalla, Max. Are those translation headphones or something? Or no, when he speaks to the mic, never mind. I'm done.
Distinguished members of the court, it is a privilege to appear before you. It's truly my honor to represent South Africa in these proceedings. I will be focusing on the nature of the rights that South Africa seeks to preserve through its application and the link between such rights and the measures requested. As well established in the court's jurisprudence, and most recently in this court's decision in the Gambia case, for the court to exercise its power to indicate provisional measures, the rights claimed by South Africa on the merits, and for which it is seeking protection, must be at least plausible. This threshold does not require the court to determine definitively whether the rights which South Africa wishes to see protected exist. Rather, the rights asserted must merely be grounded in a possible interpretation of the Convention And the court must be concerned to preserve by such measures the rights which may subsequently be adjudged by it to belong to either party. Palestinians in Gaza, as a very substantial and important part of the Palestinian national, racial and ethnical group, simply but profoundly are entitled to exist. As South Africa's ambassador pointed out in opening, to situate the right to exist and the threats to that right requires the court to appreciate that this application by South Africa is brought within a particular context. What is happening in Gaza now is not correctly framed as a simple conflict between two parties. It entails instead destructive acts perpetrated by an occupying power, Israel, that has subjected the Palestinian people to an oppressive and prolonged violation of their right to self-determination for more than half a century. And those violations occur in a world where Israel, for years, has regarded itself as beyond and above the law. As the UN Special Rapporteur on the occupied Palestinian territories explained in 2022, and I quote, "The occupation by Israel has been conducted in profound defiance of international law and hundreds of United Nations resolutions with scant pushback from the international community." That context is important, as South Africa made clear in its application. Where the international community has failed Palestinians for so long, and despite Israel's willful defiance of Palestinians' rights, South Africa turns to this court, seeking to protect the core rights of Palestinians in Gaza, to be protected from acts of genocide, attempted genocide, direct and public incitement to genocide, and complicity in and conspiracy to commit genocide. As the court knows, the Convention prohibits the destruction of a group or part of that group, including through killing, causing serious bodily and mental harm, and inflicting conditions of life calculated to bring about the group's physical destruction. Through these core rights, the Convention further protects the rights of its members to life and physical and mental integrity. Palestinians in Gaza, women, men, children, because of their membership in a group, are protected by the Convention, as is the group itself. And the core rights are violated and threatened by a remarkable set of facts outlined by my colleagues and set out in detail in South Africa's application with supporting evidence. In the speeches to this court today, South Africa has chosen, as you've heard, to avoid the showing of graphic videos and photos. It has decided against turning this court into a theatre for spectacle. It knows, as well as your excellencies, the temptation for both sides in a dispute to parade pictures to shock. But South Africa's application in this court today is built on a foundation of clear legal rights, not images. The detailed material before the court is marshalled to show a case for provisional measures based firmly on this court's prior decisions, and South Africa advances its case on the basis that Palestinians' rights are equally as worthy of protection on the unprecedented evidence before you as those of the victim groups that this honourable court has previously protected by its issuance of provisional measures in the past. The material confirms the rights in issue and their violation, that Israel has committed and is committing acts capable of being characterized as genocidal. You have heard from Ms. Hassim about direct extermination of thousands of people and children of the Palestinian population in Gaza since 7 October last year. And South Africa and the world together stand witness to the forced evacuation of over 85% of the population of Gaza from their homes, and the herding of them into ever smaller areas without adequate shelter or medical care to be attacked, killed and harmed. So, the rights are immediately and urgently in need of protection because of the ongoing denial by Israel of the conditions necessary for life. it is difficult, with respect, to think of a clearer or more abundantly urgent case. Arif Hussain, the chief economist at the United Nations World Food Programme, chillingly warned a week ago, on the 3rd of January, and I quote, "I've been doing this," he said, "for the past 2 decades, and I've been to all kinds of conflicts and all kinds of crises. And for me, the situation in Gaza, is unprecedented because of, 1, the magnitude, the scale, the entire population of a particular place. 2nd, the severity. And 3rd, the speed at which this is happening, at which this has unfolded, is unprecedented." He concluded, "In my life, I've never seen anything like this in terms of severity, in terms of scale, and then in terms of speed." Madam President, esteemed judges, the core rights on the evidence provided by South Africa in its application are demonstrably being violated. Multiple further statements by UN bodies and experts, as well as various expert human rights organizations and institutions and states, all of which is set out in South Africa's application, confirm as much. They collectively have considered the acts committed by Israel to be genocidal, or at the very least warned that the Palestinian people are at risk of genocide. Since the application was initiated, further states, 13 to date, including the Arab League and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, representing 57 states, as well as other experts, have expressed their support for the case,
drink your water,
underlining the plausibility of South Africa's claim for provisional measures. For the purposes of the indication of provisional measures, the rights asserted by South Africa under the Genocide Convention and their protection corresponds with the very object and purpose of the Convention. Based on the materials before the court, the acts by Israel complained of are capable of being characterized as at least plausibly genocidal. As Mr. Nkonkatobi has explicated, the evidence of the specific genocidal intent is clear from the statements by Israeli government officials and soldiers towards Palestinians in Gaza, and which may be characterized as at the very least
Hamas is using the internet.
Genocidal. This at least plausible genocidal intent can also be deduced from the pattern of conduct against Palestinians in Gaza. It is also, again at the very least, plausible that Israel has failed to prevent or to punish genocide, conspiracy to commit genocide, direct and public incitement to genocide, attempted genocide, and complicity in genocide. And it is further plausible that South Africa has an obligation to prevent genocide, including by taking all reasonable measures within its powers to influence effectively the actions of persons perpetrating and likely to commit genocide or engaging in direct or public incitement to genocide. So let me be clear. South Africa's obligation is motivated by the need to protect Palestinians in Gaza and their absolute rights not to be subjected to genocidal acts. Notwithstanding the incontestably serious nature of the allegations against Israel, the court should not be required, before granting provisional measures, to ascertain whether the existence of a genocidal intent is the only plausible inference to be drawn from the material before it. That would amount to the court making a determination on the merits. Moreover, South Africa has stressed that any motive or effort by Israel to destroy Hamas does not preclude genocidal intent by Israel towards the whole or part of the Palestinian people in Gaza. Evidence of other motives explaining its conduct as a perpetrator will not save Israel from a finding that it also possessed the requisite genocidal intent. And because of a fundamental feature of genocide, namely that the prohibitions on genocide and associated offences are jus cogens in nature, they are subject, therefore, to no exceptional qualification. They are absolute in nature, in times of war and peace. always and everywhere.
Yeah. Sofia's.
Furthermore, the fact that the alleged acts may also be characterized as crimes other than genocide should not exclude the plausible inference of the existence of genocidal intent. As the UN Secretary General has stated, the prevention of genocide is intrinsically connected to preventing crimes against humanity and war crimes, as these crimes tend to occur concurrently in the same situation rather than as isolated events. Consequently, he said, initiatives aimed at preventing one of the crimes will in most circumstances also cover the others. And as also set out in the ILC articles on state responsibility, the wrongful act of genocide is generally made up of a series of acts which are themselves internationally wrongful. Madam President, honourable members of the Court, South Africa's claims thus concern in the first place its own obligations as a state party to the Genocide Convention to act to prevent and punish genocide. In the application, South Africa has stressed that it is acutely aware of its own obligation as a state party to the Convention to prevent genocide. Indeed, this Court has recognised the universal character both of the condemnation of genocide and of the cooperation required in order to liberate mankind from such an odious scourge. As the prohibition of genocide is assuredly a peremptory norm of international law, or jus cogens, it is crucial that states pursue their interest under the Convention in ensuring acts of genocide are prevented. Additionally, due to the special characteristics of the Genocide Convention, the respondent state owes this duty not only to the Palestinian people, but to all states parties to the Genocide Convention, including South Africa. This has been emphasized repeatedly by this Court and most recently in the Gambia case, where the Court held, and I quote, all the states parties to the Genocide Convention have a common interest to ensure that acts of genocide are prevented, and that if they occur, their authors do not enjoy impunity. That common interest, said the Court, implies that the obligations in question are owed by any state party to all the other states parties to the Convention. Similarly, the Court has reiterated that in such a convention, the contracting states do not have any interests of their own. They merely have, one and all, a common interest, namely the accomplishment of those high purposes which are the raison d'etre of the Convention. Accordingly, any state party to the Genocide Convention, and not only a specially affected state, may invoke the responsibility of another state party with a view to ascertaining the alleged failure to comply with its obligations, erga omnes partes, and to bring that failure to an end. That means that South Africa is asserting both a collective and an individual right. It is thus beyond doubt that South Africa is entitled to invoke the responsibility of Israel under the Genocide Convention. Through South Africa's interest in the common interest, and as a state party to the Genocide Convention itself, it is entitled to safeguard compliance with that instrument. As has been explained, the events unfolding in Gaza at the hands of the Israeli forces are frighteningly unprecedented. Yet what this Court is being asked to do in these proceedings, interdicting genocidal acts on an interim basis, is sadly by no means novel. In relation to genocide, the Court has indicated provisional measures in analogous circumstances to these in the Gambia case, where, as here, a state sought provisional measures on the basis of the erga omnes right that the Genocide Convention be complied with. Also, in respect of genocide, the Court did the same in the Bosnia and Ukraine cases. And most recently, this Court further accepted the erga omnes character of parties' rights in relation to the Torture Convention. So South Africa respectfully contends that in this case, the rights of the Palestinians in Gaza are no less worthy of this Court's considerable protective power under Article 41 to issue provisional measures. This Court cannot but find, as it did in the Gambia case, where this Court held that there is a correlation between the rights of members of groups protected under the Genocide Convention, the obligations incumbent on states parties thereto, and the right of any state party to seek compliance therewith by another state party. South Africa's request therefore complies with Article 41 of this Court statute and engages the power of this court to preserve by such measures the rights which may subsequently be adjudged by it to belong to either party. South Africa requests this court to discharge that critical protective power, and South Africa does so by virtue of its own clear right and solemn obligations held towards the international community as a whole. For the court to indicate one or more provisional measures, there must also be a link between the rights, the protection of which is sought, and the provisional measure being requested. Such a link manifestly exists, we say, between the rights claimed by South Africa in its application and the provisional measures requested, which are directly linked to the rights which form the subject matter of the dispute. The provisional measures sought therefore ensure the protection of rights which might ultimately form the basis of a judgment in the exercise of the court's jurisdiction in due course. The rights at stake in these proceedings are certainly at least plausible, grounded in a possible interpretation of the Convention, and as the Convention imposes on parties the obligation to prevent and punish genocide under Article 1, and in doing so intends to protect groups and parts of groups from genocide. The Convention was designed to protect both states, parties, and human groups. When acts in breach of the Convention are perpetrated, it is the fundamental rights of people and the relevant group that are violated. Those fundamental rights of Palestinians in Gaza would be the subject of any judgment by this court on the merits. Madam President, members of the court, to find otherwise will not only be to treat Palestinians differently as less worthy of protection than others, it would also be for the court to unduly limit its own competence, to turn its back upon its extensive prior jurisprudence, and to close its eyes to the breach of the rights which lie at the heart of the Convention and which breaches are taking place in Gaza right now as I close. Madam President, I ask you now to call Ms. Negrali KC to the podium, who will address you on a risk of further genocidal acts, the risk of irreparable harm and urgency, and I thank you for your attention.
I thank Professor
Free Palestine!
I now invite Ms. Lini Negrali to take the floor. You have the
Amazing.
floor,
We need this. This is what we need.
Madam President, members of the court, It is a great honor for me to appear before the court once again. It is also both a privilege and a weighty responsibility for me to represent South Africa in this case of such severe gravity. It is my task to examine the urgency and the risk of irreparable harm to the rights claimed, the final two conditions to be met for the court to indicate provisional measures. Before that, I should like to address South Africa's sincere apologies to the Francophone members of the court for not having made any of its submissions in French. South Africa would ask you not to regard this as a lack of courtesy on its part. If you will allow, I shall now continue my pleadings in English.
Madam President, members of the court, there is an urgent need for provisional measures to protect Palestinians in Gaza from the irreparable prejudice caused by Israel's violations of the Genocide Convention. The United Nations Secretary-General and its chiefs describe the situation in Gaza variously as a crisis of humanity, a living hell, a bloodbath, a situation of utter deepening and unmatched horror, where an entire population is besieged and under attack, denied access to the essentials for survival on a massive scale. As the United Nations Under-Secretary-General for Humanitarian Affairs stated last Friday, and I quote, "Gaza has become a place of death and despair. Families are sleeping in the open as temperatures plummet. Areas where civilians were told to relocate for their safety have come under relentless bombardment. Medical facilities are under relentless attack. The few hospitals that are partially functional are overwhelmed with trauma cases, critically short of all supplies, and inundated by desperate people seeking safety. A public health disaster is unfolding. Infectious diseases are spreading in overcrowded shelters as sewers spill over. Some 180 women are giving birth daily amidst this chaos. People are facing the highest levels of food insecurity ever recorded. Famine is around the corner. For children in particular, the last 12 weeks have been traumatic. No food, no water, no school, nothing but the terrifying sounds of war, day in and day out. Gaza has simply become uninhabitable. Its people are witnessing daily threats to their very existence, while the world watches on. End quote. The court has heard of the horrific death toll and of the more than 7,000 Palestinian men, women and children reported missing, presumed dead, or dying slow, excruciating deaths trapped under the rubble. Reports of field executions and torture and ill-treatment are mounting, as are images of decomposing bodies of Palestinian men, women and children left unburied where they were killed, some being picked upon by animals. It is becoming ever clearer that huge swathes of Gaza, entire towns, villages, refugee camps, are being wiped from the map. As you have heard, but it bears repeating, according to the World Food Programme, 4 out of 5 people in the world in famine or a catastrophic type of hunger are in Gaza right now. Indeed, experts warn that deaths from starvation and disease risk significantly outstripping deaths from bombings. The daily statistics stand as clear evidence of the urgency and of the irreparable prejudice. On the basis of the current figures, on average, 247 Palestinians are being killed and are at risk of being killed each day, many of them literally blown to pieces. They include 48 mothers each day, 2 every hour, and over 117 children each day, leading UNICEF to call Israel's actions a war on children. On current rates which show no sign of abating, each day, over 3 medics, 2 teachers, more than 1 United Nations employee, and more than 1 journalist will be killed, many while at work or in what appear to be targeted attacks on their family homes or where they are sheltering. The risk of famine will increase each day. Each day, an average of 629 people will be wounded, some multiple times over, as they move from place to place, desperately seeking sanctuary. Each day, over 10 Palestinian children will have 1 or both legs amputated, many without anaesthetic. Each day, on current rates, an average of 3,900 Palestinian homes will be damaged or destroyed. More mass graves will be dug. More cemeteries will be bulldozed and bombed and corpses violently exhumed, denying even the dead any dignity or peace. Each day, ambulances, hospitals and medics will continue to be attacked and killed. The first responders who have spent 3 months without international assistance, trying to dig families out of the rubble with their bare hands, will continue to be targeted. On current figures, 1 will be killed almost every second day, sometimes in attacks launched against those attending the scene to rescue the wounded. Each day, yet more desperate people will be forced to relocate from where they are sheltering or will be bombed in places where they have been told to evacuate to. Entire multi-generational families will be obliterated, and yet more Palestinian children will become WC NSF. Wounded Child, No Surviving Family, the terrible new acronym born out of Israel's genocidal assault on the Palestinian population in Gaza. There is an urgent need for provisional measures to prevent imminent, irreparable prejudice to the rights in issue in this case. There could not be a clearer or more compelling case. In the words of the Commissioner General of the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, there must be an end to the decimation of Gaza and of its people.
Amen.
Turning to the Court's case law, as the Court has recently reaffirmed, and I quote, "The condition of urgency is met when acts susceptible of causing irreparable prejudice can occur at any moment before the Court makes a final decision on the case." End quote. That is precisely the situation here. Any of those matters to which I have referred can and are occurring at any moment. United Nations Security Council resolutions demanding, quote, "the immediate, safe, unhindered delivery of humanitarian assistance at scale throughout Gaza and full, rapid, safe and unhindered humanitarian access," end quote, remain unimplemented. United Nations General Assembly resolutions calling for a humanitarian ceasefire have been ignored. The situation could not be more urgent. Since these proceedings were initiated on the 29th of December 2023 alone, an estimated over 1,703 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza and over 3,252 injured. As to the criterion of irreparable prejudice, for decades now, the Court has repeatedly found it to be satisfied in situations where serious risks arise to human life or to other fundamental rights. In the cases of Georgia, Russia and Armenia, Azerbaijan, the Court ordered provisional measures, having found a serious risk of irreparable prejudice where hundreds of thousands of people had been forced from their homes. In ordering provisional measures in the latter case, the Court noted the context of, I quote, "the long-standing exposure of the population to a situation of vulnerability, including hindrances to the importation of essential goods, causing shortages of food, medicine, and other life-saving medical supplies," end quote. In Gaza, as you have heard, nearly 2 million people, over 85% of the population, have been repeatedly forced to flee their homes and shelters, not just once or twice, but some 3, 4 or more times over, into shrinking slivers of land where they continue to be bombed and killed.
85% of the land, by the way, the people.
This is a population that Israel had already made vulnerable through 16 years of military blockade and crippling de-development. Today, Israel's hindrances to the import of food and essential items have brought Gaza to the brink of famine, with adults, mothers, fathers, grandparents regularly foregoing food for the day so that children can eat at least something. Medicine shortages and the lack of medical treatment, clean water and electricity are so great that large numbers of Palestinians are dying or are at imminent risk of dying preventable deaths. Cancer and other services have long shut down. Women are undergoing caesarean sections without anaesthetic in barely functioning hospitals, described as scenes from a horror movie, with many undergoing otherwise unnecessary hysterectomies in an attempt to save their lives. In the Canada-Syria torture case, the Court made clear that, I quote, "individuals subject to torture and other acts of cruel, inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment are at serious risk of irreparable prejudice." Well, Palestinians in Gaza are also at risk of such irreparable prejudice, with videos of Palestinian boys and men rounded up and stripped and degraded broadcast to the world, alongside footage of serious bodily harm and accounts of serious mental harm and humiliation. In Qatar, United Arab Emirates, the court considered provisional measures to be justified, having regard to the risk of irreparable prejudice deriving from factors such as people being forced to leave their places of residence without the possibility of return, the psychological distress of temporary or potentially ongoing separation from their families, and the harm associated with students being prevented from taking their exams. If provisional measures were justified there, how could they not be in Gaza, where countless families have been separated, with some family members evacuating under Israeli military orders and others staying behind at extreme risk to care for the wounded, infirm and the elderly, where husbands, fathers and sons are being rounded up and separated from their families, taken to unknown locations for indeterminate periods of time. In the Qatar case, the court issued a provisional order where harm to approximately 150 students was an issue. In Gaza, 625,000 school children have not attended school for 3 months, with the United Nations Security Council expressing deep concern, I quote, that the disruption of access to education has a dramatic impact on children and that conflict has lifelong effects on their physical and mental health. Almost 90,000 Palestinian university students cannot attend at university in Gaza. Over 60% of schools, almost all universities, and countless bookshops and libraries have been damaged or destroyed, and hundreds of teachers and academics have been killed, including deans of universities and leading Palestinian scholars, obliterating the very prospects for the future education of Gaza's children and young people. Notably, the court has found provisional measures to be justified in all 3 cases where they were previously sought in relation to violations of the Genocide Convention. It did so in Bosnia and Serbia in 1993, finding on the basis of evidence that was certainly no more compelling than that presently before the court, that it was sufficient to determine that there was, and I quote, a grave risk of acts of genocide being committed. The court found provisional measures to be justified in the Gambia-Myanmar case on the basis of a risk of irreparable prejudice to the Rohingya, subject to, quote, mass killings as well as beatings, the destruction of villages and homes, denial of access to food, shelter, and other essentials of life. More recently, in indicating provisional measures in Ukraine-Russia, the court considered that Russia's military activities had, quote, resulted in numerous civilian deaths and injuries and caused significant material damage, including the destruction of buildings and infrastructure, end quote, giving rise to a risk of irreparable prejudice. The court had regard to the fact that, quote, attacks are ongoing and are creating increasingly difficult living conditions for the civilian population, end quote, which it considered to be extremely vulnerable. The court also considered the fact that, I quote again, many persons have no access to the most basic foodstuffs, potable water, electricity, essential medicines or heating, and that many were attempting to flee under extremely insecure conditions. This is occurring in Gaza on a much more intensive scale to a besieged, trapped, terrified population that has nowhere safe to go. Lest the contrary be suggested, it is clear from Ukraine-Russia that the fact that the urgent risk of irreparable harm arises in a situation of armed conflict does not undermine, much less preclude, a request for provisional measures. That's also clear from the court's other judgments. So in the case of armed activities on the territory of the Congo, for example, the court ordered provisional measures based on its finding that, quote,
Congo?
Persons, assets and resources present on the territory of the Congo, particularly in the area of conflict, remain extremely vulnerable, and that there was a serious risk that rights at issue in the case may suffer irreparable prejudice, end quote.
Look at this guy. He's so uncomfortable.
Similarly, in Costa Rica, Nicaragua, the court indicated provisional measures in part on the basis that the presence of troops in the disputed territory gave rise, I quote, to a real and present risk of incidents liable to cause irremediable harm in the form of bodily injury or death, end quote. In relation to the Genocide Convention in particular, the court recalled in Gambia, Myanmar, that, quote, states parties expressly confirmed their willingness to consider genocide as a crime under international law, which they must prevent and punish independently of the context of peace or of war in which it takes place, end quote. More recently, in the case of Guyana, Venezuela, the court considered that the serious risk of Venezuela, quote, acquiring and exercising control and administration of the territory in dispute, end quote, gave rise to a risk of irreparable prejudice to the rights asserted in the case. Similar factors are an issue here, having regard to the territorial ambitions and settlement plans for Gaza being raised by members of the Israeli government, and the relationship of those factors to the very survival of Palestinians in Gaza as such. Similarly, any scaling up by Israel of access of humanitarian relief to Gaza in response to these proceedings or otherwise would be no answer to South Africa's request for provisional measures. In the case of Iran, United States, the court found a risk of irreparable harm from the exposure of individuals to danger to health and life caused by restrictions placed on medicines and medical devices, foodstuffs, and other goods required for humanitarian needs. That was notwithstanding the assurances offered by the United States for it to expedite the consideration of humanitarian issues, and notwithstanding the fact that essentials were in any event exempt from the United States sanctions. The court considered that the assurances were, I quote, not adequate to address fully the humanitarian and safety concerns raised, and that there remained a risk that measures adopted by the United States may entail irreparable consequences.
You're going to see a very different way of talking with the Israelis tomorrow. They're gonna be not yelling. They're gonna be a little louder. Hamas terrori! You know, they're so calm. South Africa is so calm right now. Look at the way they're talking.
Request for the indication of provisional
so
measures.
Calm and collected.
The court was clear that while contributing, quote, towards mitigating the imminent risk of irreparable prejudice resulting from the military operation, those developments did not remove the risk entirely.
October 7th will be
Indeed,
the most used word tomorrow, by the way.
The court made clear that it considers a serious risk to subsist where, quote, the situation is unstable
or
and could rapidly change. The court considered, quote, given the ongoing tension and the absence of an overall settlement to the conflict in this region, populations also remain vulnerable. End quote. Israel continues to deny that it is responsible for the humanitarian crisis it has created, even as Gaza starves.
Yeah.
The aid it has belatedly begun to allow in is wholly inadequate and does not come anywhere close to the average 500 trucks being permitted daily before October 2023, even under the blockade. Any unilateral undertakings Israel might seek to give about future aid would not remove the risk of irreparable prejudice, not least considering Israel's past and current conduct towards the Palestinian people, including the 16 years of brutal siege on Gaza. In any event, as the United Nations Secretary-General has made absolutely clear, it is a mistake to measure, quote, the effectiveness of the humanitarian operation in Gaza based on the number of trucks allowed in. As he stressed, I quote, the real problem is that the way Israel is conducting this offensive means that the conditions for the effective delivery of humanitarian aid no longer exist. That would require security, staff who can work in safety, logistical capacity, and the resumption of commercial activity. It requires electricity and steady communications. All of these remain absent." End quote. Indeed, only shortly after Israel opened the Kerem Shalom crossing to goods in late December 2023, it was struck in a drone attack, killing 5 Palestinians and leading to another temporary closure. Nowhere and nobody is safe.
Yeah.
As the United Nations Secretary General and all its chiefs have made clear, without a halt to Israel's military operations, crossings, aid convoys and humanitarian workers, like everyone and everything else in Gaza, remain at imminent risk of further irreparable prejudice. An unprecedented 148 United Nations staff have been killed to date. Without a halt to Israel's military activity in Gaza, there will be no end to the extreme situation facing Palestinian civilians. Madam President, members of the Court, if the indication of provisional measures was justified on the facts in those cases I have cited, how could it not be here, in a situation of much greater severity, where the imminent risk of irreparable harm is so much greater? How could they not be justified in a situation that humanitarian veterans from crises spanning as far back as the killing fields of Cambodia, people who, in the words of the United Nations Secretary General, have seen everything, if they say it is so utterly unprecedented that they are out of words to describe it? It would be a complete departure from the long and established line of jurisprudence that this Court has firmly established and recently reconfirmed for the Court not to order provisional measures in this case. The imminent risk of death, harm and destruction that Palestinians in Gaza face today and that they risk every day during the pendency of these proceedings, on any view justifies, indeed compels, the indication of provisional measures. Some might say that the very reputation of international law, its ability and willingness to bind and to protect all peoples equally, hangs in the balance. But the Genocide Convention is about much more than legal precedent.
What is up
It
with
is
that
also
guy, man?
fundamentally
Look at the
about
way
the
he's staring,
confirmation
bro.
and endorsement of elementary principles of morality. The Court recalled the 1946 General Assembly resolution on the crime of genocide, which made clear that, I quote, "Genocide is a denial of the right of existence of entire human groups, as homicide is the denial of the right to live of individual human beings. Such denial of the right of existence shocks the conscience of mankind, results in great losses to humanity in the form of cultural and other contributions represented by these human groups.
He's like,
and is
oh
contrary
shit.
to moral law and to the spirit and aims of the United Nations." End quote. Notwithstanding the Genocide Convention's recognition of the need to rid the world of the odious scourge of genocide, the international community has repeatedly failed. It failed the people of Rwanda. It had failed the Bosnian people and the Rohingya, prompting this Court to take action. It failed again by ignoring the early warnings of the grave risk of genocide to the Palestinian people, sounded by international experts since 19th of October of last year. The international community continues to fail the Palestinian people, despite the overt, dehumanizing, genocidal rhetoric by Israeli governmental and military officials, matched by the Israeli army's actions on the ground. Despite the horror of the genocide against the Palestinian people being live-streamed from Gaza to our mobile phones, computers and television screens, the first genocide in history where its victims are broadcasting their own destruction in real time in the desperate, so far vain hope that the world might do something. Gaza represents nothing short of a moral failure, as described by the usually circumspect International Committee of the Red Cross. As underscored by United Nations chiefs, that failure has, I quote, repercussions not just for the people of Gaza, but for the generations to come who will never forget these over 90 days of hell and assaults on the most basic precepts of humanity. As stated by a United Nations spokesperson in Gaza last week, at the site of a hospital clearly marked with the symbol of the Red Crescent, where 5 Palestinians, including a 5-day-old baby, had just been killed. The world should be absolutely horrified. The world should be absolutely outraged. There is no safe space in Gaza, and the world should be ashamed. Madam President, members of the Court, in conclusion, I share with you 2 photographs. The first is of a whiteboard at a hospital in northern Gaza. One of the many
I thought it was going to be the least. I thought it was going to be the least.
Bombed by Israel over the course of the past 3 brutal months. The whiteboard is wiped clean of no longer possible surgical cases, leaving only a handwritten message by a Médecins Sans Frontières doctor, which reads, "We did what we could. Remember us." The second photograph is of the same whiteboard after an Israeli strike on the hospital on the 21st of November that killed the author of the message, Dr. Mahmoud Abu Nujayla, along with 2 of his colleagues. Just over a month later, in a powerful sermon delivered from a church in Bethlehem on Christmas Day, the same day Israel had killed 250 Palestinians, including at least 86 people, many from the same family, massacred in a single strike on Maghazi refugee camp. Palestinian pastor Mundhir Ishaq addressed his congregation and the world, and he said, and I quote, "Gaza as we know it no longer exists. This is an annihilation. This is a genocide. We will rise. We will stand up again from the midst of destruction, as we have always done as Palestinians, though this is by far maybe the biggest blow we have received." But he said, "No apologies will be accepted after the genocide. What has been done has been done. I want you to look in the mirror and ask, where was I when Gaza was going through a genocide?"
Yeah.
South Africa is here before this court in the Peace Palace. It has done what it could. It is doing what it can by initiating these proceedings, by seeking interim measures against itself as well as against Israel. South Africa now respectfully and humbly calls on this honourable court to do what is in its power to do, to indicate the provisional measures that are so urgently required to prevent further irreparable harm to the Palestinian people in Gaza, whose hopes, including for their very survival, are now vested in this court.
Madam President, members of the court, I should like to thank you for your kind attention. I ask that you call Professor Lowe, KC, to the podium now to describe the provisional measures sought by South Africa on behalf of the Palestinian people.
I thank Ms. Negralik, and I now invite Professor Von Lowe to address the court. You have the floor, Professor.
But do you condemn Hamas? No. Do you condemn Hamas? Answer me. No, good job, though. Good job. That was good.
Madam President, members of the Court, it's a privilege to appear before you and an honour to do so on behalf of the Republic of South Africa. This case is brought under Article 9 of the Genocide Convention, which entitles any contracting party to the Convention to submit to the Court disputes relating to the interpretation, application or fulfilment of the Convention. The Court does not at this stage have to determine whether or not Israel has or has not acted contrary to its obligations under the Genocide Convention. That can only be done at the merits stage. It's concerned now only with the question of what provisional measures are required pending the Court's final decision on the merits. The Court's jurisprudence points to 5 requirements for the ordering of provisional measures. The first is that there should be prima facie jurisdiction, and that was addressed by Professor Dugard. The second is that there should be a link between the measures requested and the rights underlying the main claim. This requirement is plainly satisfied. The measures request an order that Israel does not violate the very rights secured by the Genocide Convention as set out in South Africa's application. The third is the plausibility of the rights that are claimed. Professor du Plessis explained that this is clearly satisfied. The rights claimed are the very core of the Convention, notably the right not to be killed or seriously harmed, and the right of the group not to be physically destroyed. Fourth and fifth, there must be a risk of irreparable prejudice capable of arising prior to the final determination of the dispute, and there must be urgency. Ms. Negroli addressed those points. Israel has, for over 3 months, been mounting a continuous siege and bombardment of Gaza of a ferocity and duration that can only be seen as an attempt to destroy Gaza and its citizens. And it is publicly asserting that it will continue to do so. You are aware of the scale of the death and the scale of the destruction, and it is continuing at this very minute. The Court has said that, quote, a state's obligation to prevent genocide and the corresponding duty to act arise at the instant that the state learns of, or should normally have learned of, the existence of a serious risk that genocide will be committed. From that moment onwards, if a state has available to it means likely to have a deterrent effect on those suspected of preparing genocide or reasonably suspected of harbouring specific intent, it is under a duty to make such use of those means as the circumstances permit, end quote. And that is what South Africa has done by making this application. In cases such as Lagrande, Avena, Jadav, this Court has exercised its power to order provisional measures, having regard to the impact not only of provisional measures on the state's parties to a case, but also to the impact on the individuals directly affected and their rights. It has issued orders to restrain states from killing individuals in a manner alleged to violate international law. And that is what South Africa is requesting, after more than 23,000 individuals have already been killed in the siege and bombardment of Gaza, the overwhelming majority of them innocent men, women and children. The Court also issues orders to safeguard the integrity of its proceedings. and the efficacy of its final ruling. In the Bosnia genocide case, for example, you ordered that the parties, quote, not take any action
Bosnia
and ensure that no action is taken which may aggravate or extend the existing dispute over the prevention or punishment of the crime of genocide, or render it more difficult of solution, end quote. Without such non-aggravation orders, there is a real risk that a respondent will rush to complete its unlawful conduct before the court's final ruling, thus rendering the ruling and the court an irrelevance. Well, South Africa has kept its application in this case within the scope of the Convention. First, some will ask why South Africa does not seek any court order against Hamas. This case concerns Israel's actions in Gaza, which is territory that 3 weeks ago in Resolution 2720, the UN Security Council stressed is, quote, an integral part of the territory occupied in 1967, end quote, by Israel. As the court will understand, Hamas is not a state and cannot be a party to the Genocide Convention and cannot be a party to these proceedings. There are other bodies and processes that can address the questions of steps to be taken in respect of past atrocities and against other actors, and they are no doubt considering what they should do. But as a matter of law, under the Convention, South Africa cannot request an order from this court against Hamas. Secondly, South Africa understands that not all violence constitutes genocide. Acts of ethnic cleansing, collective punishment, the targeting of civilians, attacks on hospitals and other war crimes are all unlawful. But they do not always violate the Genocide Convention. Genocide requires an intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial or religious group. But the fact that what Israel is doing in Gaza may also constitute war crimes or crimes against humanity is no defence and no bar to a charge of genocide. South Africa has set out its request for relief in paragraph 111 of its application and its request for provisional measures in paragraph 144. The reasoning behind the requests is pragmatic. The first two paragraphs of the provisional measures request call for the suspension of Israel's military operations in and against Gaza. Israel's continuing operation in Gaza since the 7th of October attack is the focus of this case.
And
Minister Lamola has recalled the fact that South Africa has condemned the 7th of October attack. Israel says that Palestine and Palestinians are not its target and that its aim is to destroy Hamas. But months of continuous bombing, flattening entire residential blocks and cutting off food and water and electricity and communications to an entire population cannot credibly be argued to be a manhunt for members of Hamas. It is an indiscriminate attack, killing, maiming, and terrorizing the entire population of Gaza with no regard to questions of innocence or guilt, obliterating the homes and cities in which they live, and destroying any practical possibility of their return to make their homes amidst the rubble. Israel's actions both attack Palestinians in Gaza directly and also prevents humanitarian relief reaching them. Palestinians face death from continuing bombardments and shootings, and death from starvation and disease, which is even more indiscriminate.
Stop picking your nose, bro.
But usually slower.
Get your finger out of your nose.
In recent days, the United States has said again that far too many civilians are being killed. And the UN Secretary General and the UN Under-Secretary for Humanitarian Affairs and the Commissioner General of the UN Relief and Works Agency have asserted that it is imperative to halt military operations in order to enable the effective delivery of humanitarian relief. And that is why South Africa has requested an order for the immediate suspension of Israel's military operations in and against Gaza. It is the only way to secure the humanitarian response and avoid yet more unnecessary death and destruction.
Yes.
There is a point to emphasize. It's no use Israel saying that it does whatever it can to minimize the deaths of innocent men, women, and children. The use of 2,000-pound bunker-busting bombs and dumb bombs in residential areas and the relentless bombardment of Gaza, and even of so-called safe areas to which Palestinians have been directed by Israel, tell another story. But that is not the only point. It's not just a question of scale and of indiscriminate killing. It's also a question of intention. If any military operation, no matter how carefully it's carried out, is carried out pursuant to an intention to destroy a people in whole or in part, it violates the Genocide Convention, and it must stop. And that is why all military operations capable of violating the Genocide Convention must cease. The third request is for an order that both Israel and South Africa, in accordance with their obligations under the Genocide Convention in relation to the Palestinian people, take all reasonable measures to prevent genocide. The fourth and fifth measures then spell out these general obligations in terms of the specific instances of offences listed in Articles 1, 2 and 3 of the Convention. The sixth requested measure addresses the fact that, aside from its own acts, the government of Israel is legally bound to prevent and punish others who engage in or incite or actively support conduct that violates the Genocide Convention. Until the reported intervention of the Attorney General 36 hours ago, Israeli authorities appear to have done practically nothing to stop the flow of genocidal rhetoric, including statements emanating from the ranks of public officials. Indeed, the toleration, even normalization of such incitement has become a matter of concern within Israel itself. And that is why this measure is sought. This case is important. Lives are at stake. Israel's credibility and reputation are at stake. Yet evidence that could determine whether or not particular acts violate the Genocide Convention is being lost or destroyed, while fact-finders and foreign journalists are unable to report freely from Gaza. Hence the seventh request, which is for an order directing the preservation of evidence. And finally, South Africa asks that the court require specific reports from Israel on what it is doing to implement the order. General assurances are not enough. Reports published via the court are an essential element of accountability.
Yes.
I should address the question of self-defence. In its advisory opinion in the Wall case, the court noted that the threat that Israel had argued justified the construction of the wall was not imputable to a foreign state, but emanated from territory, the occupied Palestinian territory, over which Israel itself exercises control. For those reasons, the court decided, as a matter of international law, the right of self-defence under Article 51 of the Charter, the UN Charter, had no relevance in such circumstances. 20 days ago, the Security Council affirmed yet again that Gaza is occupied territory. Though Israel refers to a complete withdrawal from Gaza, it has retained control over Gaza, over access by land and sea and air, and over key governmental functions and supplies of water and electricity. The tightness of its grip may have varied, but no one can doubt the continuous reality of Israel's grip on Gaza. The court's legal holding from 2004 holds good, and a similar point is to be made here. What Israel is doing in Gaza, it is doing in territory under its own control. Its actions are enforcing its occupation. The law on self-defence under Article 51 of the UN Charter has no application. But that is not the main point. The main point is much simpler. It is that no matter how monstrous or appalling an attack or provocation, genocide is never a permitted response. Every use of force, whether used in self-defense or in enforcing an occupation or in policing operations or otherwise, must stay within the limits set by international law, including the explicit duty in Article 1 of the Convention to prevent genocide. South Africa believes that the publicly available evidence of the scale of the destruction resulting from the bombardment of Gaza and the deliberate restriction of food, water, medicines and electricity available to the population of Gaza demonstrates that the government of Israel, not Jewish people or Israeli citizens, the government of Israel and its military is intent on destroying the Palestinians in Gaza as a group and is doing nothing to prevent or punish the actions of others who support that aim. And I repeat, the point is not simply that Israel is acting disproportionately. The point is that the prohibition on genocide is an absolute, a peremptory rule of law. Nothing can ever justify genocide. No matter what some individuals within the group of Palestinians in Gaza may have done, and no matter how great the threat to Israeli citizens might be, genocidal attacks on the whole of Gaza and the whole of its population with the intent of destroying them cannot be justified. And no exception can be made in a provisional measures order to allow a state to engage in actions that are capable of violating its obligations under the Genocide Convention. It is unthinkable that a court would ever do such a thing. That is the simple point in this case. Genocide can never be justified in any circumstances. Israel's actions will be examined closely and methodically at the merit stage, when the court will want to hear what Israel has to say in its defence. What matters now is that the evidence indicates that Israel's actions have violated its obligations under the Genocide Convention, that they continue to violate them, and that Israel has asserted that it intends to continue them. Israel may say that it will comply with all of its obligations under the Genocide Convention and that orders from the court are not necessary. But in previous cases, the court has held that such unilateral statements do not remove the risk of irreparable prejudice or obviate the need for a court order. In this case, one reason for doubting the efficacy of any such unilateral undertaking is Israel's apparent inability to see that it has done anything wrong in grinding Gaza and its people into the dust. Another reason is that a departure from or reinterpretation of any unilateral undertaking by Israel may lead to consequences so appalling that the risk simply cannot be taken. But there is a third reason. As was noted during the submissions to this court in the case concerning the reservations to the Genocide Convention in 1951, quote, "The obligation to submit disputes concerning the interpretation or execution of the Convention to the International Court of Justice was regarded as one of the prime guarantees of the due fulfillment of the basic obligation to prevent and punish the crime of genocide," end quote. The role of the court, which unusually extends not only to the interpretation and application of the Convention, but also to its fulfillment, is pivotal. In addition to their substantive obligations under the Convention, it is vitally important that states respect the court and their procedural obligations.
But did you see the list?
This is not a moment for the court to sit back and be silent. It's necessary that it assert its authority and itself order compliance with the obligations under the Genocide Convention. Indeed, it's hard to think of a case in recent history which has been so important for the future of international law and of this court. Madam President, members of the court, that concludes my submission. I thank you for your attention, and unless I can help you further, I would ask that you call on South Africa's agent to read out the request for relief.
I thank Professor Lowe, and I now invite
amazing,
South
amazing,
Excellency,
so well spoken.
Vusumuzi Madonsela to address the court. You have the
Claps in the
floor,
chat.
Excellency.
Free Palestine in the chat. That was really good. That was actually really good.
Madam President, it remains my honor to read to your excellencies the provisional measures that South Africa requests from the court. You have heard the reasons set out which justify the measures being sought. To sum up, the indication of provisional measures is, we recognize, without prejudice to the merits of the underlying claim. Yet, the evidence at this stage indicates grave violence and genocidal acts against the Palestinians in Gaza, in flagrant contravention of the Genocide Convention and in breach of their rights. South Africa has come to this court to prevent genocide, and to do so in the discharge of the international obligation that rests on South Africa and all other states under the Convention. The consequences of not indicating clear and particularized specific provisional measures and not taking steps to intervene while Israel disregards its international obligations before our eyes would, we fear, be very grave indeed for the Palestinians in Gaza, who remain at real risk of further genocidal acts, for the integrity of the Convention, for the rights of South Africa, and for the reputation of this court, which is equipped with and must exercise its powers to afford an effective realization of the rights under the Convention. That means we respectfully submit, indicating the provisional measures being sought by South Africa, as well as any others in addition which the court might deem appropriate. Justice and equal respect for the rights of Palestinians points overwhelmingly in favor of these critically required provisional measures. Madam President, I now proceed to read the measures requested by South Africa.
Yes.
On the basis of the facts set forth above, South Africa, as a state party to the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, respectfully requests the courts, as a matter of extreme urgency, pending the court's determination of this case on the merits, to indicate the following provisional measures in relation to the Palestinian people as a group protected by the Genocide Convention. These measures are directly linked to the rights that form the subject matter of South Africa's disputes with Israel. 1. The State of Israel shall immediately suspend its military operations in and against Gaza.
Yes.
2. The State of Israel shall ensure that any military or irregular armed units which may be directed, supported, or influenced by it, as well as any organizations and persons which may be subject to its control, direction, or influence, take no steps in furtherance of the military operations referred to in point 1 above. 3. The Republic of South Africa and the State of Israel shall each, in accordance with their obligations under the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, in relation to the Palestinian people, take all reasonable measures within their power to prevent genocide. 4. The State of Israel shall, in accordance with its obligations under the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, in relation to the Palestinian people as a group protected by the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, desist from the commission of any and all acts within the scope of Article 2 of the Convention, in particular, A, killing members of the group, B, causing serious bodily or mental harm to the members of the group, C, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part, and D, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. 5. The State of Israel shall, pursuant to point 4, paragraph C above, in relation to Palestinians, desist from and take all measures within its power, including the rescinding of relevant orders, of restrictions and or prohibitions to prevent A, the expulsion and forced displacement from their homes, B, the deprivation of access to adequate food and water, access to humanitarian assistance, including access to adequate fuel, shelter, clothes, hygiene and sanitation, the medical supplies and assistance, and C, the destruction of Palestinian life in Gaza. Number 6, the State of Israel shall, in relation to Palestinians, ensure that its military, as well as any irregular armed units or individuals which may be directed, supported, or otherwise influenced by it, and any organizations and persons which may be subject to its control, direction, or influence, do not commit any acts described in 4 and 5 above, or engage in direct and public incitement to commit genocide, conspiracy to commit genocide, attempt to commit genocide, or complicity in genocide, and insofar as they do engage therein, that steps are taken towards their punishment pursuant to Articles 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. Number 7, the State of Israel shall take effective measures to prevent the destruction and ensure the preservation of evidence related to allegations of acts within the scope of Article 2 of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. To that end, the State of Israel shall not act to deny or otherwise restrict access by fact-finding missions, international mandates, and other bodies to Gaza to assist in ensuring the preservation and retention of said evidence. Number 8, the State of Israel shall submit a report to the court on all measures taken to give effect to this order within 1 week, as from the date of this order, and thereafter at such regular intervals as the court shall order, until a final decision on the case is rendered by the court, and that such reports shall be published by the court. I beg your pardon. Number 9, the State of Israel shall refrain from any action and shall ensure that no action is taken which might aggravate or extend the dispute before the court or make it more difficult to resolve. Thank you, Madam President and distinguished members of the court. That concludes South Africa's address. Thank you.
I thank the agent of South Africa, whose statement brings to an end the single round of oral argument of
Claps in the chat. Free Palestine. Love to South Africa.
The court will meet again tomorrow, 12 January 2024 at 10 a.m. to hear the single round oral argument of Israel. The sitting is adjourned.
Now, what the hell is Israel gonna say to all of that? Yeah. Yeah. Well done, South Africa. Well done. Very, very well done. Much love to South Africa and much love to any South Africans watching. We're gonna watch tomorrow. I'll live stream it. Israel's response. They're gonna do the same thing like South Africa did. Instead, they're gonna just spit lies and dodge every single question and every claim that, every fact South Africa said. So we will see. We will see what happens. It's definitely going to be interesting to see. Definitely going to be interesting. Especially those reports. I wonder if we're going to even get to see those reports. What time? Around the same time. I think it's literally the same time. Which is, I think, 3 a.m. my time. Like right now, for me, it is 6:30 a.m. almost. And I'm staying up to stream this for you guys. I got you. I got you. But yeah, I think it'll be around this time tomorrow. I'll stay up again and I'll stream it. 10 a.m. UK apparently, I think, right? 10 a.m. UK, or is it 9 a.m. UK? I have no idea. All I know is that it's 3 a.m. for me. I think 3 a.m. for me. Let me make sure. Yeah, 3 a.m. for me. So that was 3 hours and 20 minutes ago. So whatever time that is for you guys, I will be live again tomorrow at that time. I will go live for an hour or 2 hours earlier than that. Probably just an hour earlier than that, doing my regular Omegle content. And then we will cycle back into you know, the or not back into, but we'll cycle into the Israel stuff. We'll watch it from start to finish again. So yeah. Very, very interesting, and this has never been done before. This is insane. This is crazy. In a very, very good way. This is crazy that this is happening right now. And inshallah, some good comes out of this, and Palestine will be free, inshallah. And that's it for this stream, I think. I think we're going to end the stream there. If you guys did watch this far into the stream on YouTube, comment down the word. What should you comment down? Just so I know that you made it this far. What should you comment down? Just comment down Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Love to South Africa. Maybe even comment that. Why not? Of course. Why? You know what? Not why. You must. Love to South Africa in the chat. Free Palestine in the chat. And inshallah, Palestine will be free from the river to the sea. Anyways, I love you guys so very much. I have to go now. It's 6:30 a.m. So two things, right? Two things. I'm very tired right now, so that's why I'm heading off, and I'm not going to be continuing the stream. I'm like, I haven't slept. I've been up for so long. So I'm going to go to bed. Number two, this is what happens when you're tired. You just forget everything. Number two, I didn't even know this was happening tonight. I knew it was this day, the 11th of January. I just thought it was later in the day. I thought it was like, okay, I could sleep and then I'll wake up and stream it. But I decided to just do my Omegle stuff. And then someone was commenting, "Hey, it's in 30 minutes." I'm like, "Wait, what? Whoa, what's in 30 minutes?" And they were telling me that the hearing is in 30 minutes. I don't know. I wasn't expecting that. So I was like, okay, got to stream it. I'll stay up for it. And there we go. So now that I know it's tomorrow, I will get rest before the hearing. And we will watch it together. I don't even know what the hell they're going to say, man. To all of that, bro, like, what are you going to say to that? But do you condemn Hamas? Probably. But there's a least. There's a least. Actually, like, what are they going to say? October 7th. Terrori, October 7th. How many times are we going to hear Hamas and October 7th tomorrow? Because that's not the issue. Hamas is not the issue. You're killing kids and women and innocent people. Hamas is not the issue. End of story. So what the hell are they going to say? South Africa barely mentioned Hamas because it's not the issue. It's not the issue. It was never the issue. They never cared about eliminating Hamas. They never did. They want to kill Palestinians and they want to just ethnically cleanse them, genocide them, displace them. That's what Israel's been doing forever. And they're going to continue to do so. Oh, man. I'm glad that this is, it's being talked about now after 75 years. It's sad that it had to take 75 years, but, and even with all of this talking, with billions of people seeing what's going on, it's still going on. It's crazy. It's crazy to me. But yeah, as I mentioned earlier in the stream, I really hope that this is a step in the right direction. I hope that this doesn't just stop the genocide in Gaza. It also lifts the siege on Gaza. It stops the occupation in the West Bank. It gives Palestinians equal rights from the river to the sea. And honestly, inshallah, we'll see a one state, a multi-ethnic state where everyone is living with equal rights. No matter who you are, you will have equal rights. You know, that is what from the river to the sea means. Palestine will be free. That's what free Palestine means, is that from the river to the sea, Jordan River, Mediterranean Sea, Palestinians deserve equal rights. That is what that means. It does not mean get rid of anyone. It doesn't. And that's what people keep saying, that free Palestine and from the river to the sea means kick out all the Jewish people. No, it does not mean that. It means give the Palestinians equal rights. It's as simple as that. No other definition. There is no other definition, and I assure you, no one means anything else but give the Palestinians equal rights. But we will see what happens tomorrow. I will be live again tomorrow night. And I don't know how this works. To be honest, I don't know if tomorrow they'll make a final decision. Probably not, because they said a week until for the reports to come in. So I guess we'll just hear Israel out. What are we hearing? What are we gonna fuck? Anyways, and then I don't know what's next. I don't know what's after that. I really don't know what's after that. Like, how long do we wait until we hear something? A week? Or a few days? Or a month? Or I have no idea. But however long we have to wait, that's that amount of time that people will be getting killed in Gaza. A week or two? Like, come on. Why can't they halt the bombing in Gaza until they come up with a decision? You know what I'm saying? Like, halt it while this is happening, and then if they lose, I guess continue the. But like, you know what I mean? Just halt it now, so we can save lives, just in case that they are innocent people and that South Africa is right. Who knows? Let's see. So let's halt it right now and see. Why can't you do that? Annoying. So annoying. So more people are going to be dying. It doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter. And you know what? They may even go harder on this last week, on these next few weeks, the next week or two, or however long it takes to come to a final decision. Because if they do have a chance to lose this, and where they're going to have to stop bombing. So they may just drop everything. Like, okay, we only have a week or two left. Let's fucking just not nuke Gaza because they want Gaza, but like kill more people, kill thousands of more Palestinians. So I don't know. So, and then if it does not go through, that's another issue. What's gonna happen? What, they're just gonna get bombed 24/7 forever? The hell's what is next? If this does not go through, what is next? Like, genuinely, this is our only hope. This is our only hope to stop the genocide in Gaza. That's it. It is our only hope. As much as I love protesting, and I will continue to do so, we had the largest Palestinian protest in U.S. history on November 4th of last year in Washington, D.C., which I went to. 300,000 people showed up at the White House, in front of the White House, saying, "Cease fire now," and everything else, like so many, pictures and of Palestinians being killed on posters, and so much happened that day. And even then, that was 2 months ago, it's still going on. So, like, this is literally our only hope. That what's going on with South Africa right now is literally, I'm not even joking, is our only hope. If this does not go through, I don't even want to think about that. Inshallah it does. Inshallah it does. And I know there's another protest going on the 13th in Washington, D.C. Inshallah, that's even bigger. I hope it is. I know they changed their location to a more like narrow street or something. But that's probably because legally they can't do it anywhere else. I don't know, but inshallah it is bigger. And yeah, inshallah there's maybe 1 million people. I don't know, man. I don't know. Last time was insane. I met so many of you guys there too. It was amazing. That's when I first started making those videos. I had about maybe 50 million views on my videos at that point. Now I have 500 million. So I don't think I'm going to go to this one. Mainly for safety and stuff like that. I mean, today, I don't even want to talk. I mean, I will a little bit, but I'm afraid that people might be watching. But today was the most uncomfortable gym session I've ever had. The gym was filled up, and I'm fine with that. I've been around many people before. I don't care. I don't care about having like a lot of people around me. But the amount of people that came up to me, good and bad, a lot of Palestinians, I love meeting you guys, but a lot of pro-Israelis were staring at me, looking at me, coming up to me. And it's happened before. Israelis coming up to me and like, oh, are you Hamza from YouTube or TikTok, whatever? And it's like not the best. It is uncomfortable, like at like right there. But this time it was it was insane. Like the amount of, and I had a Palestine gym bag with me. I had this out right here. I was gonna say something, but I probably should just keep a lot of this stuff private. I keep forgetting that thousands are watching. But I gotta be careful. So that's part of the reason why I won't be going to the DC protest. Because if I did even announce that I was going or anything like that, the amount, I mean, you don't know. These people will go out of their way to do something. You don't fucking know. So I will be watching live streams that, and inshallah people live stream it. Last time I was there, I tried live streaming it, but it was just so laggy because everyone was getting their connection used up or whatever. I don't know. When so many people are around, the cellular data just doesn't work, but it worked for a little bit. So inshallah, I see some live streams there and some pictures and some videos, and I will obviously be sharing them. And if you live near Washington, D.C., go. Please go. Please go. Yeah. But yeah, I love you guys. Thank you for being here. And also, just to the few thousand people we have in here, I'm starting something that will get my videos out to hundreds of millions of more people. And it's going to be insane. Like I've been holding it off. I've been holding it because I didn't want to, I already have 500 million views on my videos just on my accounts, not including anyone resharing my videos or the news channels posting it. I in Palestine posted my videos, Al Jazeera, TRT, all of these news channels, Turkish news channels, Russian news channels. Not including that, my channel, my videos on my accounts have nearly or over 500 million views on Palestine related content. So that is a lot. But what I'm doing, I'm going to quadruple that number in the next month or two. Probably less. Because you're going to be seeing me on your feed a lot. Let's just say that. It might not be on my account, but you're going to be seeing me. You're going to be seeing me everywhere. And not only on TikTok, on every platform you can think of. So that's what we need. I'm going to make sure that the world sees these IDF soldiers saying they want to kill all Palestinians. I will make sure the world sees that. I will make sure the world sees these people saying, these people saying, that they want to kill me or any Palestinian because they are Palestinian. I will make sure the world sees that. And I have videos that I haven't released yet, interactions I've had, obviously on stream, but I haven't posted because I know they will go crazy viral. I'm just waiting for this to happen so I can just do it all at once, and then the whole world will see the truth. I'm kind of scared about doing it because obviously my safety, the amount of people that know me already is like not very like obviously like Palestinians and pro-Palestinians. I love meeting you guys. That's amazing. That's no safety issue at all. But the people that don't necessarily like me, because when you have 500 million views, how many of those are going to be people that don't really like you? Even if you have a million of that, even if you have a million of the 500 million, it's not very good. Not very good at all. So, because they are definitely louder than, than the supporters, I guess. Like haters are louder, 100%. But I have way more supporters, so you guys are. I barely see anything in the comments. You guys are amazing. I appreciate it. But yeah, I still am seeing some Israelis in my chat. A lot of them actually. But I'm talking about YouTube more specifically. I keep seeing people on my YouTube stream, like Israelis. They're commenting like insane things about Palestine and how they want to, like, they're still like shitting on Palestine and saying all these things even after watching what we just watched. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're not misunderstood. They are not. They don't mean anything other than what they are saying when they say they want to kill all Palestinians. They are not. I mean, they are brainwashed, but they just heard, they heard all of that, and they're still like, yo, we still gotta kill Palestinians, even though kids are dying and people are getting starved. Like we still need to kill them. Like that's what really. After listening to all of that, it blows my mind because usually when I speak to people on Omegle, maybe I'm like, okay, maybe you didn't get informed on the genocide going on in Gaza. Maybe you think they're actually targeting Hamas. But from what we just saw, the videos they showed, the information they said, which is all 100% factual, which you can do the research for yourself. Even after listening and seeing all of that, you are still saying that we need to flatten Gaza and we need this, we need that. Are you crazy? Holy shit. Like, that's insane. People are actually evil. I don't even know if those are people. I think those are the real animals. Even animals have hearts. I don't think you're an animal. I don't know what you are, to be honest with you. I don't know what the hell you are if you're going to keep saying flatten Gaza, kill all Palestinians, and kill the kids and whatever. After seeing all of that, after seeing the videos that come out of Gaza, after seeing everything, I don't know how you can even say that. I don't really know. Anyways, do they have a coffee pause? Do they have coffee pause? Oh, no. They're done. Their coffee pause is over. But I did want to read the last bit of donations that I received that I have not read yet. I feel bad for not reading them. So let me just finish up on these donations and I will end the stream. So we have, and everyone that is gifting on TikTok, I'm so sorry that I did not read anything. I can't really see the past gifts, but thank you to whoever gifted anything. Okay, so we have, who did I end on? I ended on, okay, Abdurrahman, yo, thank you so much for the $8 donation. Thank you. No message included, just a donation with an emote, actually. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Abdurrahman. Can we get an Abdurrahman hype in the chat? Thank you so very much. Izyan with the donation, the $2 donation. Thank you for that on YouTube. Thank you. Mary, which is a member, who is a member. Mary with the member. Thank you for that. And thank you for that $2 donation as well. Thank you, Mary. I appreciate that. Adhams, thank you for the $3.49. What is that currency? New Zealand, right? What is that in USD? I think $2. I appreciate that, Adams. Thank you, Adhams. Sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Thank you so very much for that. Next name has no username. It's just icons. It's just emojis. But thank you for that donation. I appreciate it. NH with a $160 donation. Hold on. That's a different currency. Let me see what that is in USD. That is $110. That's okay. Why are you really don't have to. Thank you so very much. You did not have to do that, NH. Thank you so much. WNH in the chat. NH saying, What can the ICJ implement after judgment? Free Palestine. Omar J. Thank you so much, Omar. Yo, W. Omar in the chat. OMAR. What can the ICJ implement after judgment? I mean, I hope they end the genocide. I think that's the main point of it. And also ending the occupation. I don't know if this is what you mean by your question, but yeah, I hope they end the occupation. I hope they end the genocide. They stop it. They lift the siege. They give the Palestinian people equal rights. I mean, there's so many, there's so many. But I really do appreciate your donation. Thank you so very much. W. Omar in the chat right now. Can we get some love in the chat for Omar? You're amazing. I appreciate you. You did not have to do that. Sorry, I would freak out more, but I'm literally just so tired. But thank you. Like, that is actually crazy. You really did not have to send that. Thank you, Omar. Thank you. Kat, thank you so much for the $5 donation. Kat Perez, thank you so much for the $5 donation, saying, may all who are complicit in this, even by word of mouth, will answer for their crimes. Inshallah. Ameen. Thank you, Kat, for that donation. And inshallah, people are held accountable for what they have done, even by word of mouth, as you mentioned. Thank you for that. WCat in the chat, thank you for that. Energy Ghost with the $4 donation. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Fahed, thank you for the $5 donation. I think that's a different currency, but I appreciate that. Thank you, saying, we all know what's going to happen at the end. U.S. won't allow this to be called a genocide. Of course they're not. Of course they're not, but I have hope. I have faith that something will be done, inshallah. I really hope so. I mean, that's what we have to do right now. We have to pray and hope. We have to have faith. That's what we got to do. We can't be doubtful of this, and we cannot be, you know what I mean? We have to be positive about this, because this is the only chance we have here. So let's just obviously send this to your friends, by the way. Send this to your family. Send these the streams. Not my streams. I'm talking about the ICJ hearings. Like, send clips if you see them on your feed. Send them to your friends and family. Let them be aware about what's going on, and let them talk about it, because that can also help get the word out more. But I appreciate that, Fahad. Thank you. Dano, thank you for the $20 donation. Dano, thank you, saying free Palestine. Dano, thank you. W Dano in the chat. You are amazing. I appreciate that. W Dano in the chat. Thank you, Dano. Thank you. MN with the three dirhams. Thank you, MN. Appreciate that. Julia Ariana, thank you for the $24, saying, I messaged you on IG. You need a Telegram channel for your vids. Keep it up and stay safe, Haboob. Much love. Much love to you, Julia. I appreciate that so very much. I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, but thank you so very much. Well, that means the world to me. You did not have to donate that. And I don't have the Telegram, but maybe I'll make one, because I am seeing other people let me comment that, yo, make a Telegram, because they don't censor stuff there. So I might. That's not a bad idea at all. Who here has Telegram in the chat? Let me know. Let me know if I should make a Telegram channel. I don't know who would join it. If you guys have it, maybe you will. But I think, yeah, why not? I'll look into it. Because in my videos, I always have to censor what they're saying. Even the word, I can't even say it on TikTok, but kill, I have to say unalive instead. Or if I do say, I have to blur it. Or if I say, murder, or if I say a bad word, or I don't know. They're very, very sensitive. I can't include context in my videos, and it sometimes the viewers struggle to understand what the hell's being said when I have to blur so much. So I post those on Twitter, mainly the uncensored stuff, because you can post uncensored stuff on Twitter, but they do shadow ban your account on Twitter if you do that. But your followers can still see it. So my Twitter is Hamza_1948. Thank you, Julia. Thank you so much. I will definitely look into that. Thank you so much. Feroz, thank you for the $5 donation, saying, Brother Hamza, I hope that South African Jew with whom you have had the conversation with is watching the live video. Free Palestine. Feroz from Kuwait. Habibi, bro, I appreciate the $5 donation, and I hope so as well. And even if he were, he knows about all of this. He knows about the occupation. The guy I spoke to for 2 hours, He is not the brainwashed. He is the brainwasher, right? So that guy, he knows everything that's going on. He knows what's going on is wrong. He is a settler in the West Bank. I mean, obviously, he is the brainwasher, you know? So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate like people like him exist. Once again, I don't believe those are people. It's very odd to me that someone like that could just say something like that or think like that. It's very weird, but I hope he did watch that anyways. I really do. I hope he sees what his country is doing, South Africa. Yeah, that's insane. Thank you, Feroz, though. Thank you. W Feroz in the chat. Thank you for that. Rido, thank you for the donation. Thank you, the $2 donation. Thank you. Ania, thank you for the $2 donation. Saying, pray Fajr before you go to bed, inshallah. I will. Thank you so much for that, Ania. I appreciate that. You know, I do live stream so late that I do tend to pray Fajr before I go to bed because it's 7 a.m., bro. Best, thank you. Thank you so much for that donation. You did not have to send that. Thank you. Carol Funk with the $5 donation, saying, where did your message go? I lost it. Yeah, I mean, Carol, thank you for that donation. I appreciate that message, but I mean, they, you know, mentioning people like that in my comments or you know, people that are saying like crazy things, it's not worth being talked about, to be honest. I know I see people saying some mean things in the chat. I get DMs like that every single day. I mean, it's not worth mentioning or acknowledging, you know? The best thing we could do is ignore and move on. Like these disgusting people that have no hearts. I mean, you know, I appreciate the dono and I appreciate, you know, the concerns, but it's people are crazy, so you know, that's just how it is, I guess. Thank you for that though. Potato Dono, thank you for the $5 donation. Thank you. W Potato. Let's get a love in the chat for Potato. I love potatoes. Alexis with the $2 donation. Thank you, Alexis. Love in the chat for Alexis. Abdul, thank you for the $2 donation as well, saying love your work. Love you and your work. Keep it up, akhi. Akhi. I appreciate that. Abdul, thank you so much. Love in the chat for Abdul. I appreciate that. Wallah, thank you. It means the world to me. And much love to you, man. Asiko, thank you for the 1 gifted membership. Actually, you just gifted another 5, so that is 6 gifted memberships. Thank you, Asi. Thank you. I appreciate that. That means the world to me. I will be posting a lot more of my videos on my members only stuff. So members only will be able to see my videos before they go live to the public. Some of them at least. And you can chat in the comments without slow mode. You get other benefits if you want to become a member of the channel. It also just supports me a lot. And I really do appreciate that if you did want to support me by becoming a member on the channel. Thank you for that. Thank you. Asi Ko, thank you. W Asi in the chat. ASI, thank you. Ayana, thank you for the $15 donation, saying we are with you. Thank you so very much, Ayana. Ayana, thank you for the $15 donation, saying we are with you. I appreciate that. Much love to you. Rima with the $5 donation, saying I'm a Jordanian American from Houston, and I appreciate all you're doing. Stay safe and a free Palestine soon, inshallah. Inshallah. Much love to Jordan and Houston. I'm actually in Houston right now. No, am I? I don't know. Am I? No, I'm actually in I'm in Canada. Thank you, Rima. I appreciate that. Thank you for the $5 donation. Maria in the TikTok live with the train going by. I appreciate that. Thank you for the train. I thank you for that. Appreciate it. Thank you. Love in the chat for Rima though. Thank you. Celine with the $5 donation, saying, bro, please make some moderators here and be safe with the craziness outside of social media too. I appreciate that, Celine. Thank you. Selena or Celine? I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, but thank you so very much for that donation and that kind message. I will 100% be safe, and I'll try my best to keep eyes behind my back, eyes all around, I guess. And yeah, I do need mods in my chat. I do. I have no one. I have no mods in the chat. So, who wants to be a mod? You need to know how to mod, though. That's the thing. I don't want someone to have the power of modding and then they just mess everything up. I'll look into it. I'll get my cousins to mod or something. I don't know. But I appreciate that. Thank you, Selena. What is Selena? I don't know. Thank you. Tiago, thank you for the $5 donation saying, do you believe the United States will be held accountable for their complicity with Israel? Much love from Portugal and Free Palestine. Much love to you, Tiago, first of all. Thank you for the donation and that kind message at the end. Much love to you and Portugal. And inshallah, Palestine will be free. And do I believe that United States will be held accountable? I don't know. I don't think so. Unfortunately, I don't think so. I mean, it's been 3 months. And what's sad is that no one is really stepping in other than Hezbollah in all of this. I mean, South Africa, obviously, but, it's like we need more. We need more people to come in for the U.S. to be held accountable. I don't know. It's a very, very weird situation going on with the U.S. and Israel. The thing is, the U.S., even if it was even if the U.S. were held accountable, they will never stop their relationship with Israel. They will never stop funding Israel. Ever. Unless Israel is not a thing. Because the U.S. has no connection to the Middle East, has no military base in the Middle East, other than Israel. That is the only connection to the Middle East the U.S. has. So they don't want to lose that. If they had no connection to the Middle East, they are done. They are screwed. So they don't want to lose that. It's sad, but it's true. So yeah, Max the Husky, thank you. By the way, good question, Tiago. I hope so. I hope they are held accountable. I don't know. I really don't know at this point. It's been so long, and they've been funding Israel for decades. I have no idea. Thank you for that, though. Max the Husky, thank you for the $20 donation, saying there's no message actually, no message. Zen with the air balloons on TikTok, thank you for that. But Max, thank you for the $20. You did not have to send that. Be positive. I will. Obviously, I'm always positive. It's just been so long. We're all tired of this, and I will continue to be positive and hopeful and pray that something will change. That's all you could do is hope and pray, But I appreciate that. Thank you for that comment and the donation, Tiago. Max, thank you for the 20. Can we get some love in the chat from Max? No message included in your donation. I wish you said something. But I appreciate that donation. Thank you for the $20 dono. Thank you, Max. W's in the chat for Max. Daily Life with the $5 donation. Thank you, Daily Life. I appreciate that. Tiago, the membership. Let's go, Tiago. Thank you for the level 1 supporter. I appreciate that, Tiago. We got some more members coming in. Let's go. That's what we like to see. Roshan, thank you for the $3 donation. Memes Planet with the $3 donation. I'll look into it, Memes Planet. I'm going to contact some people I know, and then if they can't mod, I will definitely ask the chat and get some people from the chat. 100%. I really do appreciate you. And Lily on my TikTok, thank you for that. Appreciate it. But Memes Planet, thank you for that $2 donation. Mujtaba, thank you for the 5 dirhams. I appreciate that. And Pale Rider, thank you for the... okay. Thank you for the... what is that? How much is that in USD? Let me see. In USD. That is $20. Thank you, Pale Rider, with the $20 donation, saying, please put the Al Jazeera stream for ICJ tomorrow. They show videos and evidence in split screen. Keep up the work, Akhi. Thank you. Thank you for that recommendation. That is actually very useful. Very, very useful. I do want the split screen. Well, I think that will be good. That's very, very useful. And I hope they actually play the full clips there. Even though that's probably not them doing that, it's the ICJ. But yeah, thank you for that donation, and I think that concludes all of that, the donations and the memberships. Thank you all so very much. Wallah, you guys did not have to do any of that. Yeah, thank you. Do you speak Arabic? أنا بحكي عربي بس الحكي أحسن من لا أنا فاهم على كل شيء بس الحكي مش 100%. That's the problem, right? أمي وأبوي هم they speak to me بالعربي بس أنا برد بالإنجليزي. هاي المشكلة. big مشكلة big problem. I need to Speaking terrorist language. Yeah. I'm terrori. You speak Urdu? No. But no, I will definitely I want to learn Fusha more than anything though. I want to learn Fusha Arabi, and I want to make sure I get my Arabi down. Yeah. But wallah, bro, I understand pretty much everything, and in Arabic, I pretty much understand everything. Not Fusha. Ammiya, bas. Khalas, that's it. You speak to me in Ammiya, I will know what you're saying. There may be some words where I struggle to come up with them in the spot, in the moment, but if you say it to me, I know exactly what you're saying. I will translate that word for you in the moment. والقراءة كمان, it's not 100% either. Obviously, I know how to read them, but it's gonna have to shway. I have to take my time when I'm reading. I used to be very, very fast at it. I used to read the Quran a lot more than I do now, and I'm gonna get back into it and read a lot more, inshallah. But I used to read it I used to have lessons, and I used to be in an Arabic school. So, but ever since I left Dubai, because I lived in Dubai for 10 years, when I was 2 years old to 12 years old, ever since I left, when I'm in the US, you're just surrounded by English everywhere. I went to Amman, though. I lived in Amman for 2 months in the summer, and that's where you really learn some Arabic, though. I learned a lot there about culture and just a lot of different things, honestly. But when I lived there, that's where, if you want to learn Arabic just to anyone who wants to strengthen their Arabic more, I'm going to go to Amman again this summer, probably. I'm going to go every summer, inshallah. Amman is amazing. Whenever you go in an Uber, if you order food or if you are doing whatever in Amman, I think that's the best spot, or any Arabic-speaking country. But I think Amman, that's my personal favorite from the places I've been to. That is, that's the best place. Wherever you're going, you're learning Arabic, bro. Wherever you're going, in an Uber, if you're ordering food, if you're speaking to anyone walking by. Dubai is actually not the best place, to be honest with you. Their first language is English. You have the waitresses and the waiters. They know Arabic, and you can tell they know, but they're speaking English with an Arabic accent. It's so weird there. It's so weird. I don't know, but I mean, obviously they have Arabic schools and Arabic education if you choose to go there. But they also have a lot of American schools, which I also attended. Yeah. So if you want to learn Arabic, go to Amman. Go to Amman. And there's also different dialects of Arabic. So I don't know, the Moroccan Arabic is basically a different language. So if you're Moroccan, you're like, that's not Arabic. Well, Moroccan Arabic is not really, I mean, it's Arabic, but it's not the same at all. It is very, very different. Very different. But, yeah. Anyways, it's 7 a.m. on the dot now. I gotta go. Love you all so very much. Thank you for everything. And Celine with another $5 donation. So, okay. Celine, I asked, how do I pronounce your name? And you said, it's Celine. You just typed your name again. How do I pronounce it, though? Selena? I still don't know. But thank you. I love you and I appreciate you. Saying trusted people as mods, family or trusted members is always better. Free Palestine. Thank you so very much. And I will look for people that I know. Yeah, I will. Okay. Yalla. I'm out. If you can see, my eyes are about to fall off. So I'm going to go sleep now. And I will be back. I'll be back tomorrow, inshallah. Yalla, bye-bye. Free Palestine from the river to the sea. Assalam. Assalamu alaikum. Yalla, bye. Bye, 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 bye. Bye, 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 bye. Deuces. Deuces. Peace. No peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. Free Palestine. Free Palestine.